do? See you in Fayetteville. See you in Fayetteville. Hog by night.
Oh, no, behind! It's the buzzer! It goes in! It's
Now, entering Natty State Studio, the sports media palace of Mid-America, the Wolf of Center Street, here's your host, John Neighbors.
Welcome into the John Neighbors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Neighbors, as we have a lot to get to today on this Tuesday, and we appreciate each and every one of you watching in and listening in and going to have some fun with us here for the next 2 hours on Natty State Sports. But we're going to go kind of around the sports world and have some fun questions for it and kind of do a top Tuesday, if you will, of some very important and very intense topics that I know that everybody's going to want to know all about here after a while. But we will dive into that. But I will say, though, that I am tired of talking about the Razorback basketball team, to be honest. I know some of you may not be. I know some of you may still be into it. Some of you may be still saying, well, maybe the boys can get it together and maybe it's all going to work out and maybe it happens that way. Oh, okay, fine. That's what you agree. If that's what you believe, if that's what you're wanting to happen, fine. Okay. But I just can't get to that point anymore. It's almost like, you got to show me some basketball team. You got to show me a little something. I've been paying attention to you. Razorback fans have been paying attention to you. Razorback fans have been going to your games. Razorback fans have been getting themselves hyped up and excited and saying how great it's going to be and how this year is going to be a little bit different. And they've been listening to idiots like me talk about it so much and tell everybody why it's going to be so good. And then I'm the one that looks like an idiot, which is a daily occurrence for me, but that's okay because, listen, this Razorback basketball team is just not good. So until they do something that's good, I don't really want to talk about them again. I mean, we will, let's be honest. There's going to be some news, and we'll do a recap of the game. And in fact, for the Arkansas-Ole Miss game that's going to be going down tomorrow night, we're actually going to do something new here at Natty State Sports where we're going to try a full-on live stream of the game. No, we're not live streaming the actual game because we can't do that, because if we do, the SEC Network and ESPN will come bolting down our door and say, you owe us money, and we don't really want to do that. We'd rather our money not go to the conference that's making billions. We'd rather the money stay here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little live stream set with us and the boys as we watch the game and give our reactions throughout the deal. And basically the camera's just going to be on our ugly mugs the entire time. It should be a lot of fun, though. I mean, we're going to watch the game anyway, so might as well do it while we're on camera, right? So we'll have some fun with that, and we'll get into some more details on that as the show goes on. But we are going to talk a little Razorback football, too, because I think a few of the questions that at least was asked to me about the Razorback football team and if they're any good or what's going to be happening, and maybe they're going to be a team that can be better than what it was this past season. Maybe, but maybe not really necessarily counting on it. But we'll get into that as well as one of the accolades for my boy here. I'm going to have his pin. It's the no-fly zone. It's Hudson Clark. I wear this pin with pride. He's an All-American. Well, at least an academic All-American, but still an All-American nonetheless. So we're going to talk about that, I am sure, among many things else when the show goes on. But right now, let's go ahead and welcome in the boys themselves. Of course, we got Scotty Bordelin and Andrew Ellis. And fellas, how we doing on this Tuesday? How's everything going?
Hey, man, it's going good over here. If you're not tired of listening to conversations about Arkansas basketball, Razorback basketball, listen to the Pod at the Palace. Me and Curtis will have a new episode fresh for you Wednesday morning.
Yeah, we've had a good day here. Had a successful episode 2 of the gambling show.
Yeah,
everybody said that it was just way better without you, John. Everybody was
I wonder why. I wonder why that
everybody
could
just
be.
Was like, dude, it sucks. I'm kidding. They didn't say that.
Oh,
we missed
but
you.
I'm sure someone did. Someone did, but it's fine.
But no, it's been a good day. We had we were just talking before we went on air. Me and Scotty, we learned today that Loaf and Joe's good.
Smacked for lunch today.
So hold on a second. You guys have never been to Loaf and Joe's?
Mm-mm.
No. I've only lived here for not even 3 years, so it's like, it's not like I'm a Fayetteville born and raised. And it's just, like I said, it's not one of those places where everybody's like, oh, you gotta go to Loaf and Joe's. Like, I'd heard of it, I was aware of its existence, but until we started moving down here and I saw it and I was like, oh, there it is. Like, I didn't really think about where it was at, or if it was never really an option for me.
That's kind of low-key disappointing because, Loaf and Joe's, I know I grew up in Fayetteville, so it's kind of a staple for me, but I mean, how long
See,
have you lived here? I feel like it's just right here. It's next to downtown. I mean, you're in this area all the time anyway, so never once got the bottomless mimosas on a crazy Saturday, anything
Well,
like
I
that?
will say, also, when I moved to Fayetteville, I remember thinking, like, I was going to go to Dixon all the time. And I grew up in Louisiana, but I'd been to Fayetteville and heard of Dixon, and, like, I'm familiar, Baker Mayfield. So I remember thinking, like,
The fact that that's the thing you say about Dixon Street kind of makes me sad, though. It's like just Baker Mayfield, like.
Well, we
not
were
the
talking
other
about it
great
the other
things
day.
that
It's not like
didn't
Baker
happen.
Mayfield made it, but we were talking about it the other day. So it was a little. We call that a callback
true.
in the biz, John. We call that a callback.
Yes, in the biz, in the professional business that we are in.
Exactly. You and I, yes.
Callbacks, yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, I'd heard of Dixon, but I really don't go. I mean, I've been to Dixon more with you than I have with not you, I think.
I really don't know how to take that. I don't
Like,
know
I've
what
only
that
been-
means.
I've
like,
only,
should I
like-
be complimented by that, or does that mean
I just
that
meant like, among in the
I'm
last.
too old and I'm like, I need to stop going to Dixon Street because the only time I ever go is with this old guy over here, John, who
No,
graduated
it's not even
college
just with you.
2
Like,
years
I
ago.
go every now and then, but I don't go a ton. I've gone more in the last year though, but like, I don't know.
Oh, well, we're closer now, at least with our office building here. So if we need to go to Dixon a little bit
Man,
more,
I
we
never
can.
went to Loaf and Joe's. I was in school here from 2011 to 2015. Moved to Fort Smith. Moved back up here for a year. So I've pretty much been back up here. I guess, since like 2018. Today was the first time I had Loaf and Joe's. The best part about it, it's like a 3-minute walk from the office.
Yeah, that is
So-
nice when you actually can,
Nice little
walk to places.
walk for lunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
you walk it off a little bit.
Well, and it's
after you-
been
I couldn't
not
fill yourself
miserably
up.
cold too. So
Yeah,
the
that
walk
that's-
wasn't even that bad.
Man, it felt like the heat wave came in because it's only 52 degrees or whatever outside. So
We were like soaking in that cloudy air.
I was so over it. I was so over it, and I'm so glad that it's changing a little bit too. But either way, I wanted to bring this up, and we asked the question, or I should say, I asked the question of the greatest Razorback single game performances. And the reason I did this is people were like, "Oh my gosh, mailing it in already. It's just summer topics. Might as well do
like
the
a
Mount
July
Rushmore."
23rd show.
Yeah, it's like yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we already mailed it in there. But no, in all honesty, it's like the reason I asked the question is because in the NBA last night, you had Joel Embiid go for 70 points, which I don't care what the era is. I don't care who the player is. I don't care about any of that nonsense. If you do something like that, that's worth a lot of credit. Like that's worth something.
It's crazy.
And then you throw on top of that Karl Anthony Towns going for, I guess, 62, 63 points in there. And he had a great performance and ended up losing the game. And then his coach was almost like saying that he was trying to chase that record, which, it could be a whole nother topic for discussion at a later date. But anyways, the point is you had some really great performances there in a single game. And it just kind of made me start thinking when it comes to Razorback athletics, and it doesn't have to be just basketball, though it can be, and I'm sure that there's plenty of them to throw around there. The question becomes of Razorback sports, athletics, however you want to put it, the greatest single game performance you've ever seen in person. Because I want to make sure that there's that caveat. Because there's pretty much like you just go through what's the record of each team. Like, all right, well, who scored the most points in Razorback basketball history single game? Okay, that one. Like, no, one you've actually seen in person. Because let's be honest, you guys covered sports sometimes, on occasion, for a while. And you have probably games you're like, I remember where I was in that game. I remember that performance, because it always means a lot more if you were there in person than where you were actually before. So the question is for y'all, and I will get everybody in the comments too, because I want to hear everyone else's thoughts and opinions. What are the greatest or the one greatest Razorback sports performance in a single game of all time that you've ever seen in person?
That's tough, and I worked on this for probably an hour before the show started, and I came up with 5 for basketball, and I wasn't at one of the football games that I wrote down, so I'll take that away. 5 basketball, 2 football. I think like it probably recency bias plays into this a little bit, but Devo against Kansas. I mean, that second half that he had was just phenomenal. It was like he tapped into.
It's almost like he got possessed a little bit.
Yeah, he was in his bag.
Him and Ricky Council both
He was
going out there. Yeah,
in
man.
his bag like his fries were at the bottom.
God. So that's a great one.
You remember we
though.
said Scotty talks hip?
Yeah.
I remember he taught me that phrase.
Yeah,
he's hip, man.
I've never even heard of that phrase until now, so I'm gonna have to use it or steal it or whatever. But that's a great one.
He hadn't been on the bag talk.
Several, like my top 2 are both NCAA tournament games from the last couple of years. The second one was Trey Wade against Gonzaga. And it's not so much that like he scored 30 or hit a game winner,
Right.
but he had 15 and 7, and the way like he guarded Chet Holmgren Who, by the way, he's solid.
I heard he's in the NBA. I heard
now.
he does well in the
he's-
league.
Yeah,
if you will.
Gets paid to
I
hoop for a
even
living.
threw his over on the gambling show today. Another shameless plug.
But yeah, Trey Wade. I just remember watching Trey Wade just play underneath Chet Holmgren that whole game, and he played so well. And then he was just like corner sharpshooter in that game. He just hit Gonzaga with dagger after dagger.
Well, let me say this because I like what Scotty has done over here. Because the thing is when that question got asked, it's not saying, okay, well, who had the most points or who had the most rebounds or anything. It's just like the greatest single game performance, and it can be because of an unsung hero like Trey Wade was that day. Because I totally agree with like going into that Gonzaga game, if there was sports betting and we weren't in the state of California, we could have been here in Arkansas and done it. And they would have been a thing of like, all right, here's the odds of Trey Wade over under 3.5 3-pointers made. We would have been like, we are not even touching that. Who came up with that?
I actually had his over at 17.5 points.
Yeah,
so luckily I cashed.
So the point is, I like how you're doing that because again, it's not just about the stats or the points or anything. It's about just straight up, hey, what was a great
it's
single
just
game
incredibly
performance?
memorable games. Like we'll never forget those as long as I live.
I won't.
Type of games.
Not that type of game. So yeah, those are some good ones though.
So mine's interesting because, like I said, I'm not from I didn't live in Arkansas growing up. I lived in Central Louisiana. So a lot of times the Little Rock football games were like the only games I could really go to. So I feel like my list is a little bit smaller, but I still got some good ones. I went and pulled up the box score of just the full game, John, because we've all talked about this game. I mean, there's a clip of this game on the intro to the show, the 2006 Darren McFadden performance against LSU. Now, someone's going to comment and be like, he was better in 07 and they actually won. I didn't get to go to that game. My brother didn't take me. I'm still pissed about it. But in 06, it was a losing effort, John. But the reason I bring it up is because, one, I was there and like I just remember as a kid watching it and it was a defining moment. But how many yards do you think Casey Dick threw for in this football game, John?
You don't have to ask me how many yards.
You know how many?
I may not know the spec. I think he went 3 of 17.
You are exactly correct. He went 3
for
of 17.
29 yards,
Yes!
something like that. Yeah.
We literally cackled
One
about
touchdown,
this.
Not that
2
I
hours
remember
ago.
that game or like look back and say like, I wonder why Arkansas's offense wasn't doing so hot.
So,
but
also-
I love Casey Dick, Coach Dick, love him. Like he's great.
do.
So just wanted to make that clear. But that was definitely during the time of the Mitch Mustaine / Casey Dick. Like got to do better at the quarterback position. That was just not a good game at the quarterback position.
I'm glad you put that disclaimer out there, John, because I was also there with my brother and his 2 best friends who were LSU fans. And these were like college. I was a kid. They were college students. They convinced me that Arkansas's quarterback's middle name was Loves. And I, being a 9-year-old, was like, awesome. And then my brother had to convince me that they were saying gloves. And he was like wondering why I was wondering why they thought it was so funny. And anyways, that happened. That's not even the performance I'm talking about. Darren McFadden led Arkansas in passing with 33 yards, 2 of 2 is what he was. He threw a 28-yard pass to Robert Johnson on the opening possession of that game. Again, Arkansas lost this game. Darren McFadden ran 21 times for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns, including that 80-yard run that we've seen played a billion times. You could make an argument that if Casey Dick just goes 5 of 17, they probably win. Or if instead of 3 of 17, he's 3 of 15, they might win that game.
Or you don't let Trendon Holiday take it to the house the next play.
Hey,
after.
That
There's
is
that,
true.
too.
5-5 track star. Remember that? That was a heartbreaker. And again, Arkansas lost this game, but Darren McFadden's performance was so good that like I left that game with still a little bit of hope in my heart.
Yeah, I will say that's of all. I'm glad you bring that up because the game was great. I wasn't technically at that game, but the thing is like Darren McFadden had so many great moments, as we all know. But my favorite run was that one against LSU, that 80-yarder, because. And you've seen it in the highlights. And, folks, I wish I could play it, but, copyright, we can't in the highlights for some reason. I don't care. Hey, don't tell anybody. But it's so great because it showed exactly how good McFadden was, where you had to go 80 yards. But it's nothing crazy. It's a simple I formation or run up the middle. And when he hits that hole and those safeties, who LSU was pretty good that year, won the Sugar Bowl, I believe, against Notre Dame and Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
When he hits that that safety spot, and then just, and that LSU player like he tries to jump and grab him, and I mean it just showed the sheer. This wasn't just a great running back with some speed. No, this was a dude that he hit that 5th gear and he was you couldn't catch him. And so yeah, that's my favorite run of Darren McFadden. Great performance out of him. And I guess for mine, it's going to stick with Darren McFadden, but it's going to be South Carolina 321 yards.
Were you at that game?
I was at
that
that
game. That
game.
was in Fayetteville. I'm tripping.
Yeah. I mean, I went
we
to,
had another game against South Carolina that was in like the year before. He ran for like 260 against him, didn't
Yeah, he had something, and that's why Steve Spurrier didn't vote on him in the Heisman Trophy race. At least that's the conspiracy of it
What
all.
a
But
hater.
still, no, that was a time where I almost take it for granted, and sometimes you do it because as a kid I went to almost every Fayetteville game since like '97. I had season tickets, so I got to go to almost every one of those games. But Arkansas had a great run of running backs, and they still have had some great running backs in their time. But you think
RBU,
about,
some would argue.
Yeah, but you think about like even coming from you had Madre Hill, and then you had even a guy like Chris Chakuma who was really good. Then you had Cedric Cobbs, and you had Fred Talley, and then after that you had even a guy like Dearius Howard. I think was a really good running back, but then got overshadowed because you also had Peyton Hillis, Felix Jones, Darren McFadden, all that. Like it's almost like it got it taken for granted. But I will say, to me at least, the greatest performance was Darren McFadden going for 321 yards. Because at the time, I knew how good Darren McFadden was. Everybody knew how good Darren McFadden was. But I guess in that moment of history being made, I did not understand not only how incredible that record is, but how I don't know if anyone's ever going to surpass it. One, because the running back position is not what it used to be in major football. But also because I was a little frustrated because it's a tie for the record. They gave him 324 yards originally, but then they went back and said, 3 yards was given to McFadden instead of Felix Jones or whatever. But I look back on it, and I pulled up the box score for that one too. Not only did you have Darren McFadden carry the ball 34 times for 321 yards, but this was funny. He only had one touchdown, which was that 80-yard
the
run.
end one, yeah.
It's crazy.
Felix
to
had
have,
like a good
It's
game.
crazy
Well, see,
to have 30-plus carries
Yep.
and almost 10 yards a pop. That is freaking
Yeah,
wild.
I'd say 9.4 yards a carry on that. And then I was going to bring up Felix Jones because people forget about him. Imagine if a running back for Arkansas had this number. This was the second best running back that day. Felix Jones, 13 carries for 166 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like that was the second best running back on the team. And South Carolina, you had Hillis run for 35 yards. A guy named Michael Smith, who was actually not bad.
Oh, yeah.
Also had 3 carries for 32 yards, average a first down. Arkansas had 542 yards rushing in that game. Casey Dick was 8 of 10 and McFadden 1 for 1 with a touchdown pass.
That was managing the game. People use the term game manager lightly now. Like they call Dak Prescott a game manager. I'm like, geez. That's a true game managing. When you're 8 for 10 and you run for 520 yards or whatever, that's managing.
But if you got Darren McFadden in the backfield and those guys, I'm like, man,
that's a good job.
I would say, like, hey, you could have had Ryan Mallett, rest in peace, back there, and that would have been an unstoppable force. But still, like, I think even Ryan Mallett, would be like, man, I'm just
you remember
handing
that
the
game,
ball off
Brandon
over
Allen?
here.
Dude, I was just about to talk about
Were
that.
you at that game?
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of Dak Prescott, Brandon Allen went head-to-head with him. He threw 406 yards and 7 touchdowns and lost.
In regulation.
No
picks.
lost the game. Yeah, to Dak Prescott. That was insane.
Crazy enough, what I was actually gonna bring up.
covering that game actually. I want to say this. I saw a comment that said number 5's got to be in there somewhere. For John, yeah. But like I grew up in South Arkansas. We didn't come up here. Like when we came up for my first Arkansas game was actually on like an FCA night. So it was like rode the Yellow Dog up the hill to Fayetteville.
I thought you were going to say you're part of the Burles kids doing it the Burles way.
I was not a Burles kid.
Their very first game for the first time.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be
one
you.
of my kids was a Burles kid last season, or
Nice.
2 seasons ago. But yeah, that Brandon Allen game was it was insane. And I remember that I think it was a couple days later when like SEC Player of the Week stuff is coming out, and Brandon Allen went for 406 and 7 touchdowns and did not win it. Because Arkansas's defense was just
Are you implying
abysmal.
that Arkansas got screwed over in some sort of weekly SEC award, or was like
no? Dak
coerced?
Prescott
Yeah,
was
Dak
very
Prescott earned
deserving.
it, yeah.
I mean, he
No,
won the
I-
game, so
yeah.
he's deserving.
I
but-
was just saying, like usually that's the time I was like, Cole. Give him
Cole
Cole.
Hedlund cost Brandon
Yeah.
Allen that award.
I mean, yeah,
That was not
Brandon
Cole
Allen didn't
Hedlund.
win it because
Was it not Cole Hedlund?
somebody on the edge of the shield
It
didn't block
was
somebody.
It was. Oh, his name's going to escape me now. I can see him now. He's like-
Volsky?
Volsky. Thank you. Yeah, Alex Volsky. He missed the block.
Yeah.
And also, I wasn't a fan of Bielema.
I was
just
gonna say, Bielema
running
really
the
is the
ball
one.
when you got a guy just throwing darts.
Yeah.
7 touchdowns. He's like, we're going to go conservative, which I get. But at the same time, they have no answer for you, my man. Like they have no answer for Brandon Allen and Hunter Henry, Dominic Reed,
Jeremy Sprinkle had like 4
Jeremy
touchdowns.
Sprinkle.
that game.
Yeah, like So
Also,
there's a
Arkansas-
lot of there's a lot of blame to go around, but Brandon Allen was not the reason why.
Yeah.
Every
100%.
show we do reverts back to blaming who we just recite who we hate, But what's funny is like you actually took it in a cooler direction. I was actually referencing the Brendan Allen game against Texas Tech the year before, where he was like 7 for 9 from the passing because Alex Collins had like 230.
Oh, yeah, they ran up
Jonathan
and
Williams
down-
had like
up and
180.
down the
I wasn't
field.
at that game. My brother was at that game. Another game my brother did not take me to. Blake, if you're watching, dude, like what?
Let's say like what the crap? Like your brother.
Well, the
No,
07,
just blaming him instead of
the Lubbock
coaches.
one, like I think I didn't want to go to the Lubbock one actually, but
you don't want to travel to Lubbock, Texas. It's
did
so
not want
nice
to
that
travel
time
to
of
Lubbock,
year.
Texas. But the 07 LSU game, I remember vividly like being so mad that I couldn't go to that one. But I wasn't at that game, but that was a cool performance. I had a couple honorable mentions or just other sport ones. This is a real deep cut. Michael Washington put up 24-11 against Blake Griffin, and I was in attendance
he
that
I
night.
do remember that one.
That was an awesome one. Our boy Steph Welsh also had 19, so shout out to Steph Welsh. He had a good game that day. And this is the one that people might not remember because it wasn't a day we remember as an iconic individual performance, but when Arkansas in 2018 defeated South Carolina in the Super Regional to go to the College World Series, Eric Cole, the right fielder who
Yep,
had
I
an
remember.
awesome year,
Yep.
went 3 for 3 with a home run and a double, and he walked twice, and he scored 5 runs, drove in 2 more in a game that Arkansas won 14-4. Now, obviously, like they were going to win either way that day, it appeared. But he was the leadoff guy, and I felt like him just right out the gate set the tone. And I think he also caught the final fly out, which let them the dog pile. So it was like a moment. Every time I see that clip, I remember how crazy he was going that game. And Eric Cole is one of my favorite Razorbacks of all time. Dude was a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other football game that I or the football performance I had was Kobe Hamilton when he went for 303 and three scores against Rutgers. I was in college.
I remember that game too.
At that game,
I
Yeah,
also
that was
just remembered
incredible.
I was at the 2011 A&M game when Tyler Wilson threw for like 500 whatever yards, and Jarius Wright
I was
also
gonna bring
had
that
over
up, too.
200. I completely forgot I was at that game, but I was there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game really well actually.
Speaking of my brother, he threw up at halftime of that game because he was so nervous because it was like Arkansas was down.
Nervous, I bet. Yeah,
Well,
nervous.
drunk
Yeah.
and nervous, or they go hand in hand sometimes.
Not
but
a good combo.
Arkansas was down like 28-5 or 3 at half. Like it was they were getting hammered at halftime, and then the whole comeback happened later. But
I don't know if this is too in the weeds, but I remember the first year that Eric Musselman took Arkansas to the NCAA tournament. Justin Smith had him some games, like against
he did.
against Colgate, 29-13, and then one that I think I'll remember for a long time is the Texas Tech game. He had 20. And then I remember going back and rewatching the game for shots defended for each Arkansas player, and he gave up like 3 buckets on 17 shots defended. So he went for 20 and did that, and he was, I think, defending on, Texas Tech's last shot.
Yeah, he was.
Texas Tech didn't make it, and so it kind of sealed the
well,
Sweet
the game
16
was like
berth.
what was the final score? Like 64-63.
Yeah, it was a classic Chris
68,
Beard.
66.
So
Yeah.
having 20 in that game means a little bit
big.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and those Chris Beard Texas Tech teams were good, like very defensive. Because
Oh,
it was
and
the
then
year
there was-
before they went to the title game, right? Yeah, it was the year
Texas
before
Tech.
Arkansas. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the year not 2020 because that year got
With
canceled. but
what was
the
that dude that got
19
drafted by the Timberwolves, number 4 overall for the Texas Tech the year before?
Is it Culver, Jarrett Culver?
Culver. Yeah, I hated him, but they went to the national
He was
title. that
nice.
year.
Yeah. He was real nice. There was also like you can also do this
Arkansas beat him that year too.
for
A bad
basketball,
Arkansas team.
like JD Note against Auburn when Auburn was number 1 and Arkansas beat them.
Yeah, I was going to
And
bring up
then-
JD Note against Kentucky when he went
Yes,
30 and 8.
Yeah, 30 and 8. That was great. And then I think JD had a NCAA tournament game his last year here where he had like 8 or 9 steals. I mean, it's just you can go on and on.
Well, and we were talking about JD earlier. In that Auburn game that Arkansas beat number 1 Auburn, he had 4 blocks and 3 steals, which is unreal.
Crazy. Yeah.
By the way, we got Andrew Hutchinson in the chat giving me some. I actually was at that DBU game where Jake Reindl came 7 innings in relief.
I'd say yeah, because he's Andrew Hutchinson says no love for Jake Reynolds, 7 innings pitch in relief. It to be DBU in the 2018 regional.
Well, weirdly enough, that game was closer than the game I referenced, the South Carolina game where they won by 10, because they didn't beat DBU by that much in that game, I don't think. But yeah, Jake Reindl, Isaiah Campbell got pulled with 0 outs in the first inning because he went just like walk, hit a batter, and then they brought in Jake Reindl. And so it was like him coming into that situation was pretty cool.
Well, can we say also too? So we'll get to some of your chats, folks, here in just a little bit. Again, we're talking about the greatest Razorback performances in sports that we've seen in person. Again, it's not
Yeah,
saying
in person is
Yeah,
a
we got to make
big-
sure that
big
we clarify
qualifier
because
there.
you're going to get some pissed off people by you guys obviously never saw U.S. Reed. Like I'm just like, you know,
You're
Correct,
right.
we
I
did
did
not.
not.
yeah, we're right. We were not alive during that time.
I'm 9
So,
years
yeah.
old. I've never seen any.
Yeah.
I'm just familiar with the half court shot. I've never seen him take another shot.
No.
That's the
Like,
only one he
right.
took, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, but I do believe it is pretty interesting, like, and people have been commenting about it, like, man, Kevin Kopps and what he did at Arkansas in that stretch, which was phenomenal. I mean, it was phenomenal of how great he was, and still, to me, the most fun individual season performance I've ever had of Razorback baseball. I mean, Andrew Benintendi, Benny Biceps was great, you know, and I've still, freaking COVID robbed us of Heston Kjerstad, which I think that would have been Dave Van Horn's third Golden Spikes award winner that year. Just saying, but still, the fact that Kevin Kopps, I know it's like it's tough because he was just came in and, you know, as a closer. He never really was a starter, so it's like wasn't a complete game, but it's still like in the moments he came in. I think what was it against South Carolina on the road?
Yeah, well,
he came
it was
in
every weekend in the SEC. He'd come in and pitch the last 4 innings of 2 games.
But like, I just love the fact it was in South Carolina, and I believe I have the game right. Game 2 to seal the series or whatever. He comes in the 7th inning, and of the final 9 outs, he strikes out 7.
Yeah.
And they just had, I mean, nobody can do anything about it. It's like those, that may have been like any performance he came in was always just so impressive because I'm just like, this is like this random looking guy. Doesn't look like some just forced to be reckoned with. 25 years old. We've seen him before, and he just rolls in and just mows down guys that are playing in the league right now. It's just insane.
Well, and that's what's tough about the NC State game and how it ended is because that game was supposed to be like the one culmination of it all. Because, you know, we talked about it like so many weekends where what made it special was like he would come in on Friday and pitch 3 innings, strike out 6, get the save, and you're like, oh, man. For any other pitcher, like your weekend's done, like, you know, sit on a bag of ice the rest of the time. He'd come back on Sunday and throw 4 more innings and like give up 1 run, 2 hits or whatever. Like, I think of so many weekends he would do that. And so it's like, that's what made his season special is all the culmination of so many outings. But he didn't have like that one game where it was like 8 innings, 14 strikeouts or whatever. And so like that NC State game was supposed to be that. If Arkansas just scores 4 runs,
I'm about
then
to say, I mean, he did his job.
no, he
though.
did.
That's the thing.
It was an iconic performance from Kevin Kopps. We should remember it that way, but it just isn't going to be remembered that way because they didn't win, and you know he ended up getting a loss, which is the worst. I know if Hutch is still here, I know he's shaking his fist right now talking about win-loss stats for pitchers, and he's on the right side of history. That sucks.
Yeah, but I always really, you know, look back to like McFadden and Kevin Kopps, and just, you know, there's people that are older that, you know, see the glory days of Razorback sports back, you know, during certain times, and they may have better seasons or whatnot. And I know that I barely remember the '94 national championship game, and I know that Andrew, you definitely
Quite
don't.
literally,
But like,
quite literally was not alive.
yeah, but it's like it just shows you how, yes, things in Razorback sports are not very fun right now. Yes, there's been times of struggle and times of disappointment and times of, you know, just utter want to pull your hair out and punch yourself in the face as many times as you can. But it also shows you that just here in the past 10, 15, 20 years, we have seen some insane performances by some insane athletes. Like we mentioned Darren McFadden. That guy has been mentioned in pretty much everyone's who's worth their salt, a list of being him and Adrian Peterson, the greatest running backs of the 2000s. And Darren didn't even win a Heisman. And think about the other running backs that did. People throw in Reggie Bush too, and I don't think there'll be an argument. But again, I'm like,
Technically not a Heisman winner anymore, Reggie Bush.
That's right. So technically it's McFadden no matter what. That's right. But yeah, it just
snatched that chain from him.
Yeah, but it shows you like the, you know, Kevin Kopps, same thing, you know, and what we saw, you know, Benintendi there, and in basketball too. I know that maybe not some just sheer performances, but just maybe things that have the magnitude. But it was so much fun to watch, like a Mason Jones play.
Yeah, I've got 3 more basketball ones. If you want me to
Anyone,
hit
who,
them.
go ahead
anyone
and
who
name
saw Mason Jones play,
Isaiah Joe against Florida International hit 10 threes on 13 attempts.
I do remember that. Yeah,
that was Mike Anderson's last season.
was it like his 3rd career game or something? It was like early in his freshman year.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Yeah, definitely his first handful of games. And then I had Mason Jones against Tulsa. They put up 41. He put somebody on their backside. He drove to like one of the elbows, went behind the back, watched the guy fall, kind of like looked at him and then sunk a jumper. That was electric. And then I remember Daniel Gafford's last game, and Bud, he went for 29 and 16 and was just like the.
Is that against Missouri?
Alabama.
Alabama, okay.
But yeah, I mean, that was just the perfect. Like everybody kind of understood at that point, you know, Arkansas's not going to have him for whatever postseason play that they're about to go into, and they gave him a fitting ovation when he checked out. 29 and 16 is just a crazy stat line.
Well, and again, since we're talking about, and generally speaking, folks, you know, performances, it can be just insane stats or just insane clutch factors or whatever it could be. But, you know, just also think about the guys that we haven't even mentioned that we absolutely could. Like, I think about, like, Matt Jones. And, you know, thinking that those 2-7 overtime games that he won. Like, the only reason Arkansas, first off, even went to 7 overtimes because of Matt Jones and won those games is because of Matt Jones. And they probably should have won the 6th overtime game. Brendan O'Donohoe missed a field goal. Not that I remember. But still, it's like you don't even think about those performances that this dude had in what was unheard of territory. Because this is also back for you kids out there that watch overtime now in college football. This is back where, no, they ain't no like, you know, you got to just start going for 2-point conversions from here and there. No, this was, we're going to go until the cows come home. Like, we are going to play overtime. The only rule change is by the 3rd overtime. Then you had to start going for 2. But it was the same rule, same everything, and this dude just kept making plays. And so it's like, think about performances by him. And another guy, it's even more recently, and, you know, it just all depends on the season that those guys had and how the year was remembered. But even a Traylon Burks, like that guy against Bama in 2021 on the road, literally the best, if not one of the best teams in the SEC, best defenses, Nick Saban, they could not stop him.
I really
could not stop him.
I really think KJ's game at his first time as Arkansas starter at Ole Miss. What was that?
Oh, that was one of the best performances, ever.
That's.
Oh, you're talking about the one that they lost that they went for 2 in the end? Yeah, that was another
that
great
was electric.
one.
What he had, like 6 total touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, 3 rushing, 3 passing. And, defense was optional that day.
For sure.
It was it was great.
Nothing that Ole Miss threw out there defensively, like, freaking mattered at all.
No.
KJ had an answer for everything, except the 2-point play at the end.
Yeah, which, I mean, I was like, I look back on that and I know, hey, Sam Pittman takes a lot of criticism and a lot of it's justified, but I will give Sam Pittman credit in one thing and one thing only. The guy has balls when it comes to, hey, at the end of the game, because you think about Missouri in 2020, which they should have won that game on the road. It's like, hey, let's go for 2. And they got it, but the defense kind of let them down. And same thing against Ole Miss in that game.
Kind of let them down.
Yeah, kind of
gave up the lead, you mean?
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to sugarcoat it a little bit. COVID, you know, I want to be a little more sympathetic. But, you know, that, and you think about in the Ole Miss game, they didn't get it, but I love the call. Like, I love that. And kind of a little bit, as much as I hate to give credit, it's almost like the Brett Bielema thing of 2015 against Ole Miss. It's like, he understood. It's like almost like, hey, we know. We have no reason to believe we're going to win this game. And if we can't keep doing this, let's just go for it all right here and roll the dice, 50-50 shot, and let's hope for the best.
People forget that they didn't get the 2-point conversion at first, but the face mask moved it up a half yard.
That was a perfect opportunity for the SEC. Because imagine if the SEC did not call that and how blatant. I mean, there was not a more blatant call. And I was like, man, that's like between that play with the Hunter Henry heave, as well as the lack of face mask, and also Scotty Thurman's 3 going in, I was like, the sports gods must have just taken those days off, because usually those are the times when they're like, nah, you can't be good. You can't have fun here. We got to screw you over somehow. It's got to happen.
Poor Ole Miss fans who thought they won the game when
Poor
that ball
Ole Miss
hit.
fans, nothing for one.
Thought they won the game when the ball hits the ground and the Hunter Henry heave and all that. And then there's like 3 plays in between where you're kind of coming down from that. You have another one. The players were like running onto the field when that face mask happened because they thought the game was over. And so it's like you have 2 moments, real blue balls there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That was on my birthday, by the way, November 8th.
Okay, so now you all know.
Put that
it's
in my
November
calendar.
8th coming up.
Every time you watch that Henry heave, just know Andrew Ellis was turning
birthday.
like 19 that day.
Oh, jeez. Well, a few other comments, folks. We'll try to get to them, so send them our way. If you want to give us your thoughts on the greatest Razorback single game performance you've seen in person. Got to really make sure we do that. How about Bill saying, how about Adese Tony's defense on Teddy Buckets?
Stellar.
It was pretty good.
Stellar.
And what I loved about that, and for those of you who may not be remembering, that was against New Mexico State.
Yep.
Game round 2 of the NCAA tournament over there in Buffalo. Great.
Out in Buffalo.
But Teddy Buckets had 35 the game before against UConn and won.
Yeah.
And everyone knew going into the game, they're like, Adese Tony's going to guard him. and that's going to be it.
That's it.
And he just locked him up completely.
Yeah, it was crazy. That UConn New Mexico State game it happened in, I think it was KeyBank Center right before Arkansas played Vermont. So you're getting a good look at whoever Arkansas potentially plays if they beat Vermont, and you look at UConn, and you're just like, damn.
Yeah,
like,
kind of like this past year.
These dudes have some size. But yeah, Teddy Allen was he was the man, dude. And I remember I actually ended up, there was an outlet that covers New Mexico State. They got a picture of Teddy Allen. He hit like this and one late in the game against UConn to kind of seal it. And he comes over to the courtside seating on Media Row, and he just stands right in front of Jeff Goodman, and he just like looks into the crowd and just smiles like he knows he's the freaking man. You know what I'm saying?
Dude had swagger.
That was an electric game watching Teddy Allen go crazy, and then to learn more about his story. Like I remember writing a story like, this is the man that stands between Arkansas and the Sweet 16. You know, for the second year in a row, but yeah, Aldis Toney clamped him.
And see, that's what I love.
But the crazy thing is, Teddy Allen like hit his first 1 or 2 shots in that game.
Yeah,
He was like,
I
oh
remember that.
man, Aldis Toney might have his hands full here. But he was just, he was pretty quiet.
I mean, how many points did New Mexico State end up with as a team? Like 38?
Oh, dude, that game.
It was the ugliest
54 to 50 game.
Yeah. But what I love too is going back to that is seeing how, like, again, Muss didn't try to overthink anything. He didn't try to be like, well, we got to run this. Just like, he's just like, I got a dude named Aldis Toney who is a defender from hell, and he's going to kill you with it. So instead of doing just go guard him. That's all you got to do. Just Aldis, I'm not telling you anything else in this game. Wherever he's at, because you remember when he got taken out of the game, Aldis came out of the game.
Yeah,
like I mean, it was just
sure.
absolutely matching it. And Aldis Toney, and also, and a little thing for Aldis Toney, that block that he had against Gonzaga to almost pretty much seal the game at the end, and still one of my favorite slow motion plays. And of course, Bill Rafferty, like we forget, Jim Nance was on the call for that one. Bill Rafferty was just like, oh, how about those onions? It's like just greatness for that. But yeah, that was a great performance.
Teddy Allen had 12 points on 16 shots that day. Didn't have an assist. Turned it over 3 times. So Aldis Toney got the better of him.
Aldis Toney
sure.
also MVP of whatever that Kansas City tournament was that they went to earlier in the year. Remember, he was dominant in that
the
tournament.
Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas
He was like,
City. Yeah,
he was like the center that back then. He was like going like 7 for 9 from the floor.
Oh yeah, because was he the MVP of that?
I think
so.
He
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Remember that guy, the announcer, really hated him. Some Chris Likes. I do remember that part of it too. Let's see some other comments of people chiming in. Also, Marcus says, "Hey, the greatest performance was also the Brandon Allen 7 touchdowns versus Cowbell U. Brandon Allen versus Ole Miss and Hunter Henry gave, and then Alex Collins in the Liberty Bowl.
We were talking about this game the other day.
That was a great one.
There was do you remember, John? There was a couple days there where people talked themselves into Alex Collins coming back for a senior year.
Oh yeah, that's
he
my
was
favorite
so good
thing.
in that game.
We always do that. It's it's just like, hey, you know what? Just wait, hold on a second. Wait, maybe we
there was like
actually
a Bleacher Report article that was like 5 Heisman hopefuls for next year that had him, and it was like, he's coming back.
Yeah,
he's gonna be back.
I heard Anthony Black might be coming back. I'm just saying.
Still might be coming back.
Yeah,
Who
might
knows?
be coming back.
He was never coming. Come on, man.
I know, but there's always going to be people that be like, no, I've heard they're up in the NIL to him.
We have that helmet that he wore sitting right over there, by the way.
It just so happened that Anthony Black was playing his cards right so he could make his announcement on ESPN on what was it, on the Jump?
On the Jump, yeah.
I mean, there's no better platform if you're going to do it in the middle of the afternoon. In the
Anytime you can get in the presence of Brian Windhorst, you got to do it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, seen him in Omaha randomly
Really?
at the College World Series. He went to the breakfast place I was doing a radio show from live, and he just walked in and was like, why is Brian Windhorst
I
here?
love Brian Windhorst, man.
Yeah, it's like, but I just remember how so random it was. Let's see. Jeremy says, "Build Cops a statue. The man is a legend." I
I
mean,
think he's referring to Austin Capps, the former lineman, because it's spelled that way.
Oh yeah, he could catch some passes.
it was
in
spelled
practice for sure.
COPPS.
It was CAPPS, Austin Capps,
Capps.
but just because Kevin Kopps is
Oh, I
not
see what you're
spelled
saying.
that way.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, wait a minute, there's no A in that, but yeah, that's the C. I get you, but yes, Austin Capps. I forgot about him. Man, that is a deep cut throwback. Jeremy also says, I was there when Joe Adams took the punt return back against Tennessee.
Senior
Same.
night.
I mean, I was there too.
DeAnthony Curtis had a long touchdown in that game. That was a good moment for him on senior
That was
night.
when Tennessee was trash with old Derek
I think it was
Dooley.
49-14 that game.
Yeah. Because, that was when Arkansas destroyed everyone at home, and every game on the road was like, because they beat Vanderbilt by this much, beat Ole Miss by this much. They got smoked by LSU and Alabama. So, yeah, that was a was an intense
that
one.
game, Arkansas had like number 1 and number 2 in SportsCenter top 10 because Jarius Wright had a crazy catch in that Tennessee game where it was like
Yeah, he was
tipped up 7
balancing
times.
it out and then had to catch it too. So yeah, that was pretty great. Let's see. How about Ice Cold Mint Julep? I forgot about this one. He says, in forgotten performance,
Yeah.
how about Rodney Clark
Alcorn?
scoring over 50 back in 09? Lots of threes. Yeah, he broke. I guess he still holds the record for
I think
Bud
that's
Walton
the
points.
arena
Yeah,
record. Yeah.
52, 53 points.
I don't know.
something
This
like that.
Arkansas defense might give up 50 to somebody this year.
That should be the goal for the rest of the season for the coaching staff is get Tremont Mark or somebody over that mark. Get him to like 54.
Yes, let's do that. Because, I was just glad. Here's the thing. It was Rodney played against,
I think it was
Giddy
Alcorn
City,
State, right?
Alaska, or whoever it was. Yeah, somebody.
Same,
Didn't
yeah.
matter. But I was just glad he broke it because before that was Jody Meeks. Because he went from that dude.
Yeah, he went
Now, we could
Yeah.
spend a whole show talking about performances that was against Arkansas that were some of that one. Jody Meeks
Oh,
had
yeah.
45 and didn't even blink an eye. Like, that was an incredible performance out of him. But I was just glad a Razorback holds the record instead of the opposing player holding the record there, too. Jeremy also says 2 years ago when Diggs hit a game-winning home run against Ole Miss was an absolutely scene in the hog pen as well. That was a great play.
Yeah.
Performance-wise. But this one from Flying Blind, Dylan Leach hitting the cycle.
I cannot say that I was there for that one because I got in a wreck that day. But
It's like the one game that
that's
season
I know
that you
that was like the
missed.
one game.
Was that UCA?
Yeah, it was UCA
That's
on a
right.
midweek game.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't in Little Rock, though. It was up in...
No, it was up in
was
Fayetteville.
here.
Yeah,
It was up here, okay. Yeah, 'cause
I mean,
remember-
that
I guess it
really
was the
is-
next year they played UCA down in Little Rock.
I mean that's as good a performance as anyone can have realistically. Like,
And here's the deal. And I know, like, again, we're talking about all sports, folks, but there was a great one, and this is coming from Blake on Twitter, and I'm not joking. Like, this is truly Danielle Gibson for softball.
Yes, the home run
hitting
cycle.
the home run cycle.
Yeah, that's
I don't
legend.
care what league you're in. I don't care what's like the absolute perfect, because it's not just, you going out there and hitting piss missiles. Like, you got to have the timing to do that. That's something to where, just happened in 2019. That's something, man, like, you're not going to top that in baseball, softball, anything, that type of performance.
a 4 home run game by itself narrows the list down to like 6 people all time who have had a game that cool. When you take into account that it was the home run cycle, that's as cool as it gets. I mean, that's you literally cannot have a better performance.
That's right. Also, Ryan Lynch says Pargo versus Florida in 2002. I actually do remember that game. I wasn't there. I don't think I was there for it, but that's when he hit Florida was number 5, I believe, and he hit the game winner from like the elbow. Gerald Pargo was he's one of him and Brandon Dean. I still
Love
have a
me some
Brandon Dean jersey.
man.
Was
Yeah.
Pargo on the cover of something like? I feel like he was maybe not Sports Illustrated, but I feel like when he was in high school, he was like a huge thing. Like I feel like there's some old takes exposed thing about Gennaro Pargo
I
that
don't
gets
think so,
retweeted every now and
'cause
then.
Pargo was a JUCO player that came into Arkansas and only played 2 years. So I don't believe it was
Maybe
Gennaro
I'm confusing him
Pargo.
with someone else.
Could have been somebody else like that, though. I don't know. But
I don't know. My recall's not as good as John's. I'm just like consistently impressed with like, oh yeah, this kicker missed that field goal from 46 yards away, missed it wide right.
I don't
There's a
forget.
section of my life
I
where
don't
And
forget.
you just knew
Yeah.
off the top of the dome that Casey Dick went 3 for 17 in that game.
I
that Ellis
don't
was mentioning. That's crazy,
forget.
man.
I just remember, dude, the Casey Dick one I remember, I don't remember the exact number, but I remember listening to the call-in shows after the game, and people were like, why can't McFadden just throw every pass? He was 2 for 2. We don't just, because like they were like really doing the math.
it's a pretty logical question.
But
It's
every
probably me being the one calling in.
Right.
It's like, what is
Understandable.
happening? Like, how do you allow this to happen?
No, like it was that was a classic. That was good stuff.
Yeah, but that was a good one though. And Pargo, but going back to Brandon Dean. Brandon Dean was one of my favorites, man. That guy, because that was the year too. Is Nolan Richardson's last season at Arkansas. Pargo went to the college 3-point competition, finished second, and then Brandon Dean won the dunk contest.
That's right.
And he was only 6'1". Dude was insane.
Y'all remember the Arkansas Rim Rockers?
Yeah,
Played down in
yeah,
Little
yeah.
Rock. Didn't Brandon Dean play for the Rim Rockers?
Dude,
for a
like
little
every
while?
former Razorback did. It
I
was
feel like I got his autograph after a Rim Rockers game. I was like a huge Brandon Dean fan when he was in school. I mean, I just like where I grew up, you just don't see like crazy athleticism, and I can just turn on the TV whenever Arkansas is playing, and Brandon Dean's just doing some crazy stuff on a nightly
remember when
basis.
yeah,
Sonny
he was only,
Weems
and
won
again,
the
6'1"
dunk
was insane. Who?
Sonny Weems won the dunk contest in college too, like 08.
That's
I remember
right.
those. Arkansas has
right.
been well represented at those events.
Yeah, because Sonny Weems was from West Memphis, right? Went to JUCO at
that's right.
UFIS down
Yeah.
at Fort Smith.
Yep.
And I remember he was on a Sports Center play at UFIS, which That's saying something because that was before they, just everything was live streaming like some chotches out there that live stream stuff. But that was a long time ago before that. So getting the video of that was impressive. But yeah, Sonny Weems won it. Brandon Dean won it. And I was really bummed that Arkansas's really not had anybody else in the 3-point competition. I was really how did Dusty Hannah's not get in the college 3-point competition?
Well, because what's the criteria of players that go? Because you have to be out of school. You have to be graduated. I'm pretty sure. It's a weird criteria of how you have to have graduated 4 years of college.
Well, I know that. Well, Dusty was for sure.
Yeah,
graduated.
Dusty could have done it. Yeah, that's probably the only.
And
regret.
also Daryl Macon, I thought would have been great. And I'm pretty sure he was a fourth-year player. So
perfect.
Yeah,
for it.
that would have been awesome. But
how about Isaiah Joe didn't, or Mason Jones? That's still kind of a dumb rule, though.
Isaiah Joe was on the team until a week before the draft.
Don't bring that up, man. It still gets me.
He was at practice the day before, man.
Yeah, it's just imagine if that. I mean, the team was really good no matter what. But man, if that Arkansas team that already went to the Elite Eight had Isaiah Joe on top of that, that would have been pretty fun. But you wouldn't have had Jalen Tate. I guess he probably was the one that was the late addition, I think, because Isaiah Joe waited till the very end. So
yeah, my recall's not that good, but yeah.
Curtis would be able to tell us. Where's Curtis at?
I don't know, where is Curtis?
Yeah,
he's just bail on us
completely forgot. He's not here.
He's setting up for the pod at the Palace. We're about to record.
Yeah, he's probably just I'm done talking nonsense. And he's I don't want to do
very
live streams.
Very grateful for Curtis.
Stuff.
He knows how to set up that Roadcaster and get all of our cameras and everything in order. So shout out to Curtis.
Well, it just sounds like you guys need to start getting ahead of the curve a little bit and start learning.
Curtis is way ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, it's his entire life has been ahead of the curve.
They call him ahead of the curve.
Yeah, his nickname. His nickname is.
You think we just call him that because he's not ahead of the curve?
Yeah, his nickname is the Curve. He knows his stuff, but for all the wrong reasons. Curvis, yes, man.
We're already off the rails.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Don't let me loose with my dad jokes.
Yeah, well, it's all right. Well, again, it's no one's listening anyways or watching anyways, right? Actually, that's not true. A lot of people are, duh. But folks, we're going to take a break and keep those comments coming when it comes to your greatest Razorback performances you've ever seen in person. A lot of great topics and a lot of great ones being thrown our way here so far. But folks, I got to tell you though about one of our great sponsors here on the John Neighbors Show. It is Superior Contracting and Development at 1122 Main Street down there in Valonia, Arkansas. Now, they are local, so you know that you're always going to be there to support a lot of the local flavor when it comes to all things Arkansas. But they're not just Central Arkansas, because we know Valonia's down there. They're statewide. They can help you out because they are licensed residential and commercial contractors specializing in all aspects of home building and remodeling. They handle everything from fencing to drainage to additions and remodeling for your existing structure, or all the way to land development and ground-up construction as well. So you can call them today for your interior and exterior construction and remodeling needs right now. It's 501-453-3053. That's 501-453-3053. You can also check out their website at superiorarc.com. That's superiorark.com. Or just email them. You'll get a quick response for some great people that are willing to help you out immediately at contracting@superiorarc.com. So again, no matter what your needs may be when it comes to the licensed residential and commercial contracting, contact the people of Superior Contracting and Development today. They'll get the job done as always. We'll take a break and we'll come back with more of the John Neighbors Show here live from the Natty State Sports Studio.
We're not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we're not done. We're not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we're not done. We're not done yet either.
Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away.
But the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Neighbors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Welcome back into the John Neighbors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. I am your host, John Neighbors, and I guess now there were two because now it's just Andrew.
Again, you always have a bad your tone every time. It's just me. I feel sad.
I guess people are doing more important things than just hanging out with us and wanting to go and record podcasts and do their work and do their jobs and all that stuff. So I can imagine that, but. Either way, we appreciate everybody watching and listening in this afternoon, and wanted to remind everybody that we've been talking about the greatest Razorback single-game performances of all time, which is great. But also wanted to say that for those of you who have been inquiring, it's trust the process, as Joel Embiid says, who went for 70 last night. But for those of you wondering about our podcast, we are officially on Apple Podcast, as well as Spotify, as well as
Amazon.
That's right. We are on Amazon, too. Almost forgot that. And Stitcher and TuneIn. Basically, wherever you can find podcasts. So for those of you who have been inquiring about it, it's done. We got it. It's over. We got the audio side of things, too, because I know some people don't want to watch us. Some people don't want to see our ugly mugs up there. I can't imagine why, but they don't. So
yeah, it is
fine.
wild. But yeah, it is good to be on the podcast. I can't believe how many people were like asking about that, but that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm all for it. It means that some people like to be the more audio side of things instead of the more visual side of things.
I feel like also sometimes with YouTube, people, if they don't see it live, they're like, oh, I can't watch it. It's like, no, it's still there.
No, it's still there. Yeah,
it's like,
you still can.
Still can watch it. Yeah,
You still can do it.
We
if
like you to be in
wanted
the chat yelling at us, but if you can, it's
Yeah,
fine.
I
You can
mean-
comment later and still yell at us.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we would love that, but we've got a few things, though, that I wanted to discuss with you today because, again, I know that there's a lot going on in the sports world, especially from the Razorback land. But I wanted to give a shout-out to Frank Ragnow, man. Frank Ragnow, and I want to pull this up here, too, and showcasing this thing. But Frank Ragnow, so he got hurt on a play for the Lions. For those you know, look at old big Frank the Tank there, man.
Grizzly Man Outdoors, was that? You remember when he had that
still,
Instagram?
and still rolling with it,
Still
man.
rolling.
So I think arguably one of the greatest Razorback offensive linemen, at least of our generation. I mean, I know that Sean Andrews was incredible, Brandon Burlsworth was incredible, but as far as here in the modern era, and at least the past 15 years, for sure, Frank Ragnow's in that list. But Frank Ragnow, this is what's crazy. So I can't show the play, but he got rolled up on by Jared Goff in the playoff game. And this is according to Ian Rappaport, that he suffered both a sprained knee and a sprained ankle on the same injury. And if you saw the video of it, it looked pretty rough. So he suffered that, and he missed just a few plays and then went back in and is now expected to play in the NFC title game. Like, I know we talk about grit and all that, but I love the quote that he had where he says, admitted he was really hurting, but got back on the field because his parents taught him about toughness, the pain. I'm not trying to sound like some brute, tough guy, but it's more frustrating. I just take a lot of pride in being out there, come from that. I mean, and he's just, the fact that he's coming out here and says, the fact that it's just, again, it was tough, but it was well worth it. So shout out to Frank Ragnow and, tough guy of the week here, which, there's a lot of reasons why he's a tough guy, but, for those of you who remember, now he's a great player at Arkansas, but remember, he lost his dad while he was at Arkansas. While he was at Arkansas. And that was it was in the middle of the season, too. And that was a brutal, brutal thing that, nobody should have to deal with, especially a young college kid, and he was so close to his dad. But, again, just shows how much his parents meant and how the toughness, but also for him to come back. And Arkansas played Alabama's in 2016, and he came and played really well. Nick Saban went and found him.
That tells you how good Frank Ragnow is at football. Obviously, Nick Saban, stand-up guy. You could argue he would do it for anyone, but he was well aware of Frank Ragnow. And I remember he talked about, when he was talking about him and asked about it, the respect, you could tell that it was genuine admiration for him as a ball player. And so it's like, I'm not saying Nick Saban wouldn't have come over and said anything, but I just remember that moment being really cool, and it really said a lot about how respected he is. And man, I remember, I don't know if he was playing through sprained knees and ankles on the same plays and stuff at Arkansas, but I remember him dealing with a lot of stuff, especially his last year when the team was bad, and he was over there trying to do everything he could. I mean, he played pretty much every position on the offensive line for Arkansas. That 2017 season, he ended up missing the last few games, but he was hanging on for as long as he could.
Yeah.
He's one of those. It's another. We were talking about Dre Greenlaw yesterday. Of like, I wish he had been able to have more team success. Although Frank got to play on some good teams in 14 and 15, like he didn't get to have the conclusion to his career at Arkansas that he probably deserved.
No, not at all. And the fact that he played like every position, it seemed like at Arkansas, center, guard, tackle.
And he started right away. Like his true freshman year, he was like starting 2 games in, and like he just
I think
never
it was
left.
the 2015 year where that was the year that you had Denver Kirkland, Dan Skipper, who's also happens to be on the Lions.
He was a freshman
too.
in 2014, which was the same year where they
I
had
thought
like
it was
the biggest.
2015 it was, but
They had pretty much the same O-line both years, just about.
Okay.
2015 was a really good O-line, but Frank, I mean, he was on both of those.
That's
14
right.
and
Okay,
15.
I think you're right. Yeah, because you had Sebastian Tretola. I mean, you had 4 bona fide dudes on that offensive line, and then the center Mitch Smothers also wasn't too bad either.
No.
So it was really great. But to see like the story of Frank Ragnow is just again so cool, and the fact that he's a former Razorback, and the fact that there's 2 guys who are on the same offensive line, Dan Skipper and Frank Ragnow. Of course, Dan Skipper was involved in the controversial. Subbing in and eligible wide receiver, whatever. Yeah, but it is kind of cool to see.
Dan Skipper
both
is
of them
involved
on
in
there.
more controversial plays than any football player.
Still, the only time I've really seen tripping called.
Dude, he used to get flagged so much when he was a freshman. I think Skipper might have been a year older than Ragnow, if my memory serves me correct.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
And so he was having to start at guard as a freshman. You remember he was 6'9", playing guard. And he used to get in so many fights. He would get a 15-yard penalty like every other game, it seemed like. There was one where he was just, I remember the camera cut to him, and he was just punching this dude in the gut while they're on the ground. Dan Skipper was the man. And those offensive linemen, I loved. And, they put him on the media cover that year. And it was funny because, like, obviously Sam Pittman was there and was a huge part of it. The offensive line really was kind of the personality of the team that year. And it was because of guys like Frank, and they kind of set the tone for everything. And it was a fun era.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for Frank Ragnow, and seeing him do so well in the NFL is a really cool thing. And those hashtag Pro Hogs.
Hashtag Pro Hogs.
Those Pro
He's one of the
Hogs.
best, like truly the best Pro Hogs I can remember of my lifetime, at least. I'm 26.
Of NFL players?
Yeah, just because he was a first round pick. Arkansas hasn't had a ton of those, but also he's lived up to the hype at every step of the way throughout his career. I mean, I don't remember him being a massive recruit, but I think he was pretty respected.
He's a 4-star.
Comes in and starts right away. So, like, right off the bat, starts making true on that. Obviously, ended up being like an All-American player. First-round pick, immediately becomes a starter, Pro Bowler, All-Pro. Like, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
As consistent as anybody, man.
Just a dude, yeah. Because there's very few first-rounders in Arkansas's history in football that's actually lived up to that type of hype. And, again, we could probably spend all day, like, talking about it, but, like, I think like Matt Jones, of course, had a solid showing, but still
solid showing in the NFL.
He was there.
He
was
really
there long
did.
enough to get pension, and I feel like if you're in the NFL long enough to get pension, you're good to go.
When he had years where he was one of the better, like he was one of the Jaguars like top receivers for a couple years there. Like he had that one game. I remember one Sunday he had like a 8 reception, 100.
Yeah, it was against Baltimore, and he did on Deion Sanders. It was like his Deion's final year. Because I remember one of the cool things, being obsessed with Arkansas, Matt Jones and all that, is that Deion, like after the game, was like, that was one of the most athletic dudes I've ever faced and all that. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Deion saying
he really
that.
was like a specimen, man. I mean, he was just so big, Yeah,
Matt
Jones.
He was literally 6'6", 235 pounds, 42-inch vertical, ran a 4.3. It's like
unreal, man.
Yeah. Just
he's one of those guys, like he was too early, because if he were a quarterback nowadays, obviously he wasn't a savant through the air or anything, but these modern offensive coordinators would have just gone nuts with him doing even a receiver, tight end, whatever you want to do with him. Like he probably would have had a career as a tight end is probably what it would have happened. They would have bulked him up a little bit.
Yeah, probably. But man,
I mean, in the NFL at least, but in college, if he would, if he was at Arkansas with Kendall Bryles or whoever, like he would have put up stupid numbers.
Yeah, ahead of his time, ahead of the curve, if you will, as we were.
Because you're talking about D-Mac running out of like the I formation, and it kind of made me think like guys like Matt Jones and D-Mac. What made him so special is the offenses really weren't designed to create shot plays. Back then, Like a 60-yard run nowadays in college football, like you see these busted coverages and these schemes that are so good that you see a 60-yard touchdown and it might not be as cool because it's just a guy wide open or getting behind the defense. Matt Jones and D-Mac would just make plays with nothing. So imagine if they did have some help from their scheme or a decent team around them. It would have been unreal.
And that's what I always say about when McFadden, if people start arguing like, oh, Reggie Bush or, oh, Adrian Peterson, great running back, some of the best. But during that era, you also got to think Reggie Bush was in one of the most effective and prolific offenses, passing, receive, everything. And Adrian Peterson, I know now it's kind of laughing, but you do have Jason White, who won the Heisman, throwing the ball too. Arkansas, again, love the guys, but like Mitch Mustang, Casey Dick,
not quite.
Passing was not a thing for Arkansas, because everybody knew that hey, McFadden's going to get the ball.
But what's Matt Leinart doing now? Is he coaching? Is he coaching as well as Casey Dick is?
No, he's not. He ain't.
Matt Leinart,
he's still on TV though, right?
He's still on TV. Extremely handsome guy. You seen Matt Leinart lately?
Oh yeah, no, he's
a dude.
Yeah, he is a. It's like USC had like the string of like those like good-looking quarterbacks that are just like him, like Mark Sanchez, and like
all
all
had
these
noodle
guys.
arms too.
Yeah, and like they couldn't play in the NFL, but you know they could they were like model for GQ and
they were
look
like
good
the
doing
jocks and Disney Channel shows that are like the superstar quarterback. That's pretty much what USC had for like 15 years there.
I remember that I was so jealous and like thought that was the life Matt Leinart had his scene, because remember he didn't leave after his junior year. Because his junior year he won a national championship and the Heisman in the same year, and actually performed really well in the championship game against Oklahoma, which Heisman Trophy winners never performed well in the national championship game for a stretch. And then he came back, and he had already graduated. And I remember I loved it because I'm like, okay, this guy is hanging out in Los Angeles. Apparently, he was dating some supermodel. I forgot her name, but she was, of course, a smoke. He's living like outside of Hollywood, and he's only taking ballroom dancing because everyone was joking about it. That was his only class he was taking. I'm like, what a life. Yeah. You won a national championship, a Heisman, you're still playing football, you're in L.A., you're the biggest game in town, you got a supermodel girlfriend, and the only class you're having to take in college is just hanging out and chilling with the ballroom dancers. Like, what a life that would be.
Speaking of douchebag quarterbacks that played college ball in Los Angeles, Josh Rosen, do you remember when he got like a hot tub installed in his dorm his freshman year, and they had to like come and be like, hey, you can't do this, man. We gotta move this somewhere else. But I think about college quarterbacks living a life. I bet he was having some fun for however long that hot tub was there, maybe 3 days. He was having some fun.
He was the one that got drafted like 8th overall, but then like bounced to like 8 different teams in 2 years or something like that.
His coach, Jim Mora, told like he was asked about it at one of those NFL Network interviews, and he was like, you know, the thing about Josh is you really got to like get him. You have to make him understand why he has to work hard. And I was like, hearing stuff like that, like you had to really sell him. You had to like, as long as you keep him motivated, he's fine. And they were like, oh, that's a huge red flag right away.
I'd say if you're having to do that for, especially a guy you're about to spend a top 10 pick on, it's not the thing you want to hear. Yeah, you know, you once you get them to understand the positives of being a hard worker, then it's going to work out. It's going to be great.
By the way, before we move on to a much better topic, I wanted to bring up something about those early 2000 teams. Matt Castle, you know the name?
I do.
Also, you know, had a long NFL career, made a ton of money in the NFL. He was at USC.
One season with the Patriots, but yes.
Yes. And then, I guess he was Kansas City. There's probably some listeners here that know him well. When he was at USC, he never started.
That's right.
01 to 04, he was the backup for Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer, I think both. Like, I think he was Carson Palmer's backup and Matt Leinart's backup, which kind of worked out. For his collegiate career was 20 for 33 passing, 192 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's what Matt Castle did at USC.
And then he got into the NFL.
He was a 7th-round pick, and then somehow finagled his way into being Tom Brady's backup, and then ended up making $50 million playing quarterback.
They were just so like, it's like quarterback U. I hate to use the QB but it was there at the time.
Well, they were also running back U. They were wide receiver U. They were like they were cranking it all out.
Yeah, I think even the, of course, like Mark Sanchez, dude only played 1 year at USC. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And then he got drafted 6th overall. So to the Jets, my favorite team.
Yeah. Hey, but he did win. He went to back-to-back AFC title games, didn't he?
Back-to-back. What have you done, Cowboys fans? That's right. Yeah.
People don't want the transfer portal. They just want these guys to sit and suffer in silence like Matt Castle was doing and just be an NFL-level quarterback.
Yes, just do that. Let's do that.
Be a man. Be like Matt Castle.
be a man. Be more like Matt Castle.
Just sit there and don't play. Don't leave.
I don't know if you know anything about this, Andrew, but we're going to bring it up. Ice Cold Men Julep says, away from basketball, any shot at getting the center from SMU that has entered the portal, he sounds decent. You have any idea?
Does that mean away from basketball? That means he's asking about a football center from SMU?
I believe that is the case.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, they want someone that can snap.
They need centers.
Based on the information I've been given by Ice Cold Mint Julep, Pittman did also say they do want to add one more guy that can snap. So that makes sense. I have no idea whether or not they've contacted that dude, though.
We'll get on top of that for
SMU's
you.
been cooking, though. Take as much as you can from those guys.
Is it still Major Applewhite down there? Or no, it's not Major Applewhite.
It's that other guy
Brett
that was
Lashley.
under Lashley, the guy that was Malzahn's guy.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure both of them were Malzahn's guy for some weird reason.
Malzahn has like he's a weird one where like his entire coaching tree is like low-key better than him. Like his coaching trees ended up being, I mean, like Drinkwitz is at a better job than him, and he's in that coaching tree, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But I don't think he was in like the full on full on coaching tree. It was more like
Springdale
was
High
around him like
tree.
It's kind of like saying like Pete Carroll was at Arkansas as a coach. It was like, okay, he was
fair enough.
Like a what do you call him, a graduate.
But like Lashley's doing better than Malzahn, I would argue.
Who?
Like Lashley, I would argue he's at a better situation, like doing better these days than Malzahn.
Yeah.
Although
but at least
Malzahn
had like a run. I mean,
he
had
quite
good.
a run. But I just meant like if you in hindsight, it's kind of funny how at one point he was like the guy, and now he's
just a
KJ
guy.
Jefferson's head coach.
Yeah, that's what he's known for now, more so than anything. But yeah, I wanted to give also a shout out to, speaking of, because we talked about that earlier, the greatest Razorback single game performances of all time. I wanted to give a shout out to this man here. I know you can see that. That's the no-fly zone. That's Hudson Clark, the no-fly zone. I have that pin, and I will continue to wear it. But our guy, the no-fly zone, is an All-American. Okay? Hudson Clark is indeed an All-American. If you don't believe me, just check it out right here. Because Hudson Clark was named a first-team academic All-American by the College Sports Communicators of the 21st Razorback, becoming the 21st Razorback in school history to earn the honor. It's because he was first-team All-SEC. In 2023, he was first-team All-SEC from USA Today 2022.
Wait, what are they talking about?
I
What are
don't
they
know.
referencing?
Okay, so he posted a stellar season in 2023. Okay, so they say he had a great season in 2023 after having the recognition of first-team All-SEC in 2022.
Did USA Today have him first team All-SEC?
They did.
Okay.
They did. He had 51 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, 1 interception, a fumble recovery while playing in 12 games, 10 starts at multiple positions in the Arkansas secondary. Picked off his 5th career pass in the season opening win over Western Carolina. But as we know, he's known for picking off, of course, Matt Corral 6 times in that Ole Miss game. So,
well, he did it 3 times.
Man, like 3 times.
Also, there was only like 8,000 people who can say they were there for that one.
I was there.
You were there?
I was there.
How many people really were? I mean, it was like a quarter full.
Yeah, because I think it was like 30% is what they said. But, fun fact, not to get too out in the weeds, fun fact, that's actually the person, because I got invited to a suite to go to that game. It was like on my birthday weekend. Got invited to go to a suite to that game by some rando on my DMs, or that slid into my DMs on Instagram by the name of Branson Van Landingham.
Ah.
First time I ever met the guy. So
Hudson Clark launch Natty State Sports is what you're saying?
People are saying.
We are
They're
built
talking.
on the back of him.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with building the no-fly zone. And I know that people have their own things about certain players, and especially about Hudson Clark. But I always just think it's so ridiculous how many people hate on Hudson Clark.
Yeah.
And especially since, like, I'm not saying no one's saying he's the greatest defensive back to ever play at Arkansas. Nobody's saying that. But it is like almost weird how every single time. I mean, I know why. They do. We know why they do. But I'm just saying, shout out to Hudson Clark. I don't care if it's an academic All-American. It's still dadgummit. It's still an award for our guy Hud. So just wanted to give him a shout out.
Apparently he's racking up awards. I mean, first team All-SEC performer in 2022.
Well, yeah. What is it? Classroom he graduated with. It's magna cum laude. Is that how you say it, I think?
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah,
I never got close
cum
to
laude.
that. So,
I know there's summa cum laude, so I would imagine that magna, it's pronounced the same.
Why don't we just use like normal words, instead of
you were
this
first,
magna.
you were the best in your class, you were the second best in your class, you were the third best. Like, just go like that.
Yeah, just do that. Degree
because
in
magna cum laude really means like second. It doesn't that mean like you're.
I have no idea. I just know it's good, whatever it is. But he had a degree in finance and a minor in marketing, and he's at the Walton College of Business pursuing a master in business administration with a 3.6 GPA.
I'm being told in the chat that
shout out to Hudson Clark.
I'm being told in the chat that he is Jerry Jones's grandson, Hudson Clark.
I do not believe that is the case.
I think what they mean is he went to high school with Jerry Jones' grandson,
now,
which
that
he
is
did.
true.
And Chad Morris' son.
That is true. Yes, and Chad Morris' son. Yeah, apparently
People
just
always
a lot
say
of the
Chad
sons.
Morris never brought anything to Arkansas. He brought Hudson Clark. So what more do you want?
Did he, though? I thought his freshman year was Pittman's first year.
I think it was, but he was a redshirt freshman that year.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
so
he's
I
back
think
this
he
year.
was there with Chad Morris because he played with Chandler Morris. I have no idea.
I don't know.
We'll ask Cutson himself. We'll say, hey man,
That's
was
right.
it Chandler Morris that got you there? Was it Chad?
No. I mean, one thing that Chad Morris did do is he did a decent job of recruiting.
He did. That
not much
2019 class
else,
is an
but-
awesome class. I mean, when you go back and look at it, it's kind of crazy how their hit rate. We were talking about it the other day at Big Chicken, actually. But that 2019 class, it kind of allowed Arkansas to have some stability under Pittman and kind of weather the storm because that class had some dudes. I mean, you talk about Traylon Burks, obviously. Trey Knox was a big-time recruit in that class, but just all over the board there. And, I mean, even the 3-stars from that class, like Brady Latham and Bo Limmer, turned out to be pretty good. So
Yeah. I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't bad. They had a few dudes. Because that's always my favorite thing, too. And, say what you want about Sam Pittman. A lot of it may be true. But there was always these arguments I give people to be like, all the best players that Sam Pittman had were Chad Morris players. And I'm like, okay, yes, Traylon Burks for sure. But let's also not forget a guy by the name of Rocket Sanders, which was really good. And
that's how it works. We're like, in 20, like for instance, in 3 years, this recruiting class, the best players on the team are probably going to be from this class and the class after that. And the class, like the older players are the better ones. So it's kind of, we always do that where we're like, this coach had this player and this coach had this player. And, I get it. We can do that for discussion's sake, but that's just kind of how the world works.
I know. And so I don't understand why people use that as a negative. And
Right.
hey, and he also brought in players like a Drew Sanders, who was really good. Brought him in as a JUCO, or not JUCO.
Well, and also
transfer.
Traylon Burks had a whopping 0 touchdowns before
That's true.
Sam Pittman was his head
That's
coach.
true. So also, I like Felipe Franks. That guy was
That
good.
was a great one. Yeah, that was a great addition, honestly.
Yeah, it was a great addition there. He brought him in. All the running backs essentially were brought in because of Pittman. You had
all those defensive. I mean,
side.
every transfer that they've had in the
which
last
is-
3 years who has been worth anything came from this this staff. So
Yeah, I've just never. I don't understand that argument that people tried to make, but still, it's been fine. Well, speaking of which, also I'm gonna do a little football too, since we're on the topic. I had somebody ask me just the other day. They're like, "So who's gonna be our starting quarterback this year?" And I think Andrew, me and you may have talked about it a little bit. I don't know if it was on this show or somewhere else. That's
yeah,
us
our real life
sitting
conversations bleed in. It's kind of tough to know what we talked about in real life. What we talked about on the show.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
just kind of hit go and then hope the stream goes, and we're still just having normal conversations. But I think we talked about this with the starting quarterback for Arkansas and how there's just not been a whole lot of quarterback competitions for a while for Arkansas football. KJ has been the guy. Before that was Felipe Franks. Before that, I mean, pick your poison there. But
there wasn't even really a battle for either. I mean, the 2019 to 18, it's a fever dream of a year.
Austin Allen, Brandon Allen, Tyler Wilson, Ryan Mallett. I mean,
Casey Dick before him.
Yeah, I mean, really, Casey Dick, Mitch Mustaine type thing of 06 might have been the last legit quarterback
even
battle
that
you
battle was during the season more so. It wasn't like when Mitch Mustaine was in fall camp. It really wasn't as much of a thing where it's is he going to start opening week? I don't think that was really a narrative. I mean, Casey Dick was hurt, and Robert Johnson even started that opening game. So it's not even like that competition. It was all off season. We didn't get to play that game. This off season, we get to play that game for 8 months.
Hooray!
Well, and then the key is, will it stop there, or will this be a quarterback competition that we're in November and we're like, I still think Jacoby Criswell should play, or That's what if you're a Hog fan, that's what you should really be hoping, is that this gets wrapped up quicker than later.
And I'll admit, I think it's going to be Taylon Green. I'm not saying that because the other guys suck or that he's just elite or anything like that, but just basing it off of kind of how coaches handle things and what they go about doing it, and when they bring somebody in, Taylon Green seems like the guy. Hey, from Boise State, we know Petrino liked him. It's the only quarterback other than I guess Austin Ledbetter that has come in. That has been a Petrino guy, or at least come in since Petrino's been hired. I think KJ Jackson, but he was already coming with.
Yeah, he was already.
So he was already there. So again, maybe Malachi Singleton, maybe Jacoby Criswell. But to me, if I'm a betting man, which I am, I'm going to go with Taylon Green to be the guy right now.
Saracen, where are the odds, by the way?
Yeah, we need to get this on.
We
Saracen.
need to have that all off season and track the note of the movement of it.
Carlton. Get us some odds on that. Work on that. Make that happen. But yeah, no, you're right though. I'd like to know the odds of like, because surely would you say the favorite has to be Taylor Green?
Yeah, I would say. Like, I mean, realistically, if we're trying to, I mean, Saracen, if you want to go ahead and we can set the lines for them, I would probably have Taylor Green like plus 110. I think then I think you would have like Jacoby Criswell like plus 185, and then maybe Malachi Singleton at like plus 700 or something like that.
Yeah, I think
whoever,
that
KJ Jackson, who knows?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Ledbetter.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep going down the list.
So show me if you have your Austin Ledbetter to start week 1 props. Send them our way.
Yeah, I would love to know the plus on that, or maybe I don't know, maybe minus. Depending on somebody may know something.
We'll, after spring practice, it might move a little bit. We might start hearing some Austin Ledbetter throwing ropes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I don't care who does it as long as they're good at it. But they got options though, and these. I was looking at kind of the whole, like, not high school rankings really matter, but you think about Criswell and Malachi Singleton and KJ Jackson, like those are all like 4-star players that came out of high school. And Taylor Green was a 3-star, I believe. And so, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be Taylor Green, and I'm fine with it being Taylor Green. You have essentially all the wide receivers from last year coming back. You have your big tight ends that you really needed, Luke has, as well as Ty Washington coming back. So the weapons that are going to be around the quarterback are there, I think. They're there. I mean, I think the guys
besides,
are pretty good.
Running back. I mean, like the weapons, yeah, I would agree. O-line, I guess it's going to be a completely new group, but I don't think that really. I guess it's not like anybody. I mean, even Jacoby Criswell, who's been here, it's not like he's so established and there's so much continuity and so much rapport between him and all these guys. Like, who knows? Maybe at the beginning of spring practice, that gives him a little bit of an edge just because he's thrown to Andrew Armstrong, he's thrown to Isaac DeSlaw, and he's thrown to all these guys. But, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting little – there's enough returning to where you have something to build on, but there's nothing so set in stone to where it's like everyone has to fall in line behind these guys. Like this offense, there's a lot of question marks in a good way, like fun to discuss way. Like there's a lot to figure out. And so –
because I think the only one on offensive line would be Josh Braun.
Yeah.
Probably is the starter, which, again, not trying to play defense here, but it's like – I don't think that it's like, oh, every offensive lineman was trash last year. No. I think it was just a lot of things going on where getting Josh Braun back is not like, oh, guy's terrible. It's like I think everybody looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the wide receivers looked terrible. The running backs looked terrible. I mean, everything looked terrible except for maybe the tight ends before they got hurt. So it's just I basically what I'm saying is I'm willing to give them a shot.
Well, he was the highest graded one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was.
I used to do those PFF stories, and also just having a guy with some leadership who's been around, played in the SEC. I mean, if you want to make an argument someone should start over him, you can do that, but I think it helps to have a guy like that so you're not just completely starting from scratch here, and there's at least something to build around.
Yeah. I don't know. I like
the young pieces on the O-line are interesting. Like, I remember, like, a year ago, it sucks now because we've seen some of them play. They've been forced into action earlier than they probably were supposed to, but, like, a year ago, we were hearing so many good things about Marion Harris, Andrew Chambly, and Patrick Kudus especially. I mean, I remember on signing day 2 years ago, they were like blown away talking about Patrick Kudus. Like they couldn't believe they got him, and they felt like they had this diamond in the rough. And had he just not played last year, we probably would still view him that way. But now that you've seen these guys go through some growing pains and seen them kind of get rushed out there, now it just changes your opinion of them. But it's like you look back to a year ago, and all these guys were super highly touted. I mean, that was a big part of their class back in 2021, 2022 at this point. But I like that group a lot, and I'm not willing to sell all my stock for those guys. And so I think that's kind of one of the bigger stories of the offseason is what happens with that group. I mean, we went into the season last year kind of not knowing with the offensive line. We'd ask the coaches about it, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we're good. You can usually read between the lines and tell if they really feel good. And if there's rotating every day at fall camp, then they probably don't feel good. I'm interested to see like kind of who emerges and just what the identity of this team looks like. And then I think we can, the quarterback is obviously going to be a pretty big part of that. And so it'll be interesting to see which guy kind of rises, the cream rises to the top. And does Taylor Green kind of set that tone right away? Like how long does it take him to establish himself? And so, man, I mean, we're talking in circles here, but I've talked myself into being excited for spring practice, John. I can't believe it.
Listen, the team's 10-2 might be on the table once after spring practice is over. I mean, the path to the Sugar Bowl is there.
We're about to do why Arkansas will do this.
Oh, yeah. Why they're going to win it all. Why they're going to have such a great year there. But no,
They control their own destiny is the key, though. They do control their own destiny.
They do. They are in full control, and all they got to do is just win the games in front of them, and they'll have a good year. So, but that's the thing is like with Razorback football coming up, and especially the quarterback position, I get it. It's up in the air. It's kind of fluid for some, but I also look at it too where Bobby Petrino is going to have at least a decent quarterback and decent quarterback play.
Maybe.
Will it be like Ryan Mallett, Tyler Wilson, or Lamar Jackson? Odds are no. But will it be Casey Dick of 2008?
Had
will
a good
it
year.
be Brian Brom of 2005 or 6 or whatever it was? Could it be that?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the question I'm really looking at. Could it be that good for these guys? And that's all you need, really. Like, you don't, it'd be nice to have a guy go out there and throw for 3,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, and complete 70% of his passes. And if it happens, I think everybody's going to be like, nice, great. But I also think just as long as the quarterback position is a threat, like that's the main thing. You got to have offense and defense both, but especially in the offense, the running game and the passing game has to be a threat. Because let's be honest, too, even Petrino's heyday years where he was at Arkansas, yes, the passing game was the key, but I don't think it would have been near as good if you didn't have Nile Davis, if you didn't have Dennis Johnson, if you didn't have even a Broderick Green, like legitimate running backs back there helping out and being threats. That's what I'm really going to be curious about. I think the quarterback position will be fine, but will there be a running back that can step up, whether it's Rashad Dubinion, Isaiah Gustav? I know they got that. I can't remember the guys, the transfer that they just had, but I don't know. I just look at it to where the passing game will be good. I think it'll be solid, but can the rushing attack be able to complement is key?
Well, and I think it's huge because, I mean, with any quarterback, context is so important. I mean, with college quarterbacks especially, it can be so high variance where, like, for instance, KJ Jefferson, you see him on the right context when he has protection and he's got receivers to get the ball to, and he's not facing a blitz every other play, and he looks borderline unstoppable. But if you see him in a different context where maybe the run game isn't there to help him out and maybe the receivers aren't getting open and people are questioning whether or not Arkansas has a KJ Jefferson problem. And so obviously it's not like KJ Jefferson was this superstar the year before and now he sucks the year before. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but it's all about kind of that context and how do you set your quarterback up to have success. And to say that Arkansas didn't set their quarterback up for success in 2023 is, I mean, a drastic understatement. There's just no way. And so, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. No matter what, the situation is going to be better, whether it's Singleton, whoever. But I agree with Taylor Green. I think he checks those boxes and brings the most threat and the most upside. And so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm a Taylor Green fan, and again, I'm believing in Petrino. I'm a Petrino fan, but yeah, that's just how about not having quarterbacks that have to run for their life every single time out and be able to make plays. Like, I don't know what the offense is going to look like, because I honestly thought under Enos it would be different, at least good enough, and it wasn't at all. But can Petrino whip these guys into shape? I want to see him try at least. I want to see him try. Don't know if it'll happen, but I want to see him try. So, folks, we'll talk more about some of the things going on in sports world, and also, hey, did you see this here in just a second? But, folks, I got to tell you, of course, about our friends at Alumni Hall, because we know Alumni Hall is the place for the ultimate Razorback shopping experience, and it's conveniently located right here in Fayetteville at 3417 North College Avenue. Now, here's the thing. You're going to be coming maybe for some Razorback basketball games. Don't know why. Maybe get some free tickets, trying to hope and will them to victory. Well, maybe so. Maybe you're getting ready for baseball season already. Turning the page when the weather starts warming up, which hopefully is here very soon because we're all sick of this winter weather. You're going to get ready for that. Well, don't be wearing those old shirts and those old jerseys and all that old stuff that isn't even relevant anymore. Go to Alumni Hall right now and check them out in all the latest and greatest options and apparel that you could possibly have. All the Razorback apparel you can possibly have. And not only does it come for men, but for women, for kids, even for dogs, they got it all too. And they also have some of the nicest brands you'll ever see, like Nike, Columbia, Cutter and Buck, Johnny O, Onward Reserve, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, Tommy Bahama. I mean, they got it all, no matter what it is. So check out Alumni Hall. And if you're not in the Fayetteville area, that's okay, because they have a great website that you can go to, alumnihall.com/Natty State. That's alumnihall.com/Natty State. Go over that website. Check out all the great apparel that they have to choose from. I promise you won't be disappointed. So go and check out our friends over at Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville. We'll take another break, in our final break and come back with some of the did you see that type of things and viral moments and nonsense that we love so much. So stay with us here on the John Neighbors Show, live from Natty State Sports Studios.
So don't be satisfied because we're not done. We're not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we're not done. We're not done yet.
Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potato. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Neighbors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Welcome back into the John Neighbors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in. I am John Neighbors alongside Andrew Ellis, hanging out and doing our thing as I guess the guys are over there recording the pod at the Palace. So waiting on them to – actually, we're not waiting on them. We don't even need them, really. I mean, it's really the show's driven by me and Andrew. Don't tell them that. But yeah. We do just fine, and it's going to be a great pod at the Palace. Best one yet, even, I've heard.
Definitely. Well, it would really help if that basketball team would just start winning games. I mean, geez.
Dude, like, can you win, dadgummit? Make it interesting.
We were looking at it today. We were like, man, the pod y'all did the day after the A&M game, it did really well. Seems like the ones after were not quite. We were like, oh, yeah, I guess that's how that works, huh? Yeah.
Oh, it's so annoying. Like, I just need to stop sucking. All that is holy, stop sucking. So.
But I will say, John, I'm really could not be more excited for our live stream tomorrow during the game.
I'm kind of excited, too, just to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, as someone who has enjoyed content that way before, like watching games and watching the stream at the same time, it's not the least enjoyable way to watch sports. It really isn't. And I figure now more than ever, they need us, John. They need us to make sense of the mediocrity they have been forced to sit through, the scheduled tortures that we have been subjected to. They need our voice, and while we provide it pre and post game, sometimes that's just not enough. We need to provide it during the game, and that's what we're going to do. So if you've always said, "Hey, I want to watch a game with these guys," you can tomorrow night.
Yeah, you can, and we're trying not to jump out the window when we're watching it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be moments.
It might get dark real quick.
Yeah, there's going to be some moments there. Those 8 p.m. Wednesday games, man, gets a little weird sometimes. Gets a little weird, but it'll be a fun time, though. And we're going to live stream. We're still going to do the post game. So essentially, if you really do the math here, we're going to have, what is that going to be, probably 4 straight hours of Natty State sports at least?
Yeah, I mean, I got 4 to 6.
Well, maybe not.
There's not straight hours, right?
Straight, yeah.
Yeah, we'll let y'all eat dinner tomorrow
I'm talking
night.
about the game starts at 8, so we'll be live streaming a little bit before that. So it'll be 3 hours, probably, because then we do the post game show afterwards.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, I guess if you're counting today, I mean, this show as well, it's going to be, you're going 4 to 6, a little bit of a break there, and then 7:30 to 10:30. Sound right?
I'm going to start having to pay overtime around here. Good grief. It's going to be wild to see. So,
yeah. But it'll be fun.
It'll be. So be sure to be on the lookout and join us and have fun to make it happen. Let's see. A few comments, though, before we get into the Did You See This? Chase says, is the question heart or is the question too many shooters that lack defensive qualities?
Well, it'd be nice if those shooters would make shots as well. I mean, since we talked all offseason about how they were going to be like the greatest shooting team, we're going to have such improvement, and they are a better shooting team than they've been the last couple of years. I don't know, man. I think it's just a lack of connective tissue between them all. Like, I don't think you can blame it on it. It's not the personnel, it's not the lineup, it's not the roster. Like, although I guess you can make the argument this roster is poorly constructed. I don't think it's piece by piece. Like, it's not like Tremont Mark isn't the type of guy you can win with. Caleb Battle, like. We've seen Arkansas win with a lot of different types of ways, but I just think this team is not connected at all, and so it's tough to build that identity. And they're not the same as the collection of the sum of their parts. I can never get that. I don't know what that saying is that people say. When people say it, it sounds cool.
The collective parts.
The whole Arkansas is not the whole. The whole is not equal to the sum of its parts.
Why do you have to say that? Like, why do you? I don't know why you even mention. Like, just say something else. Like, what? That sounds so ridiculous. Like
Arkansas's team, if you add up, like, if you were to go by piece, you add it up on paper, it seems like it would be better than the product we're actually seeing. Is what I'm trying to get at, John.
Okay, I'm about to say that sounds like some Stephen A. Smith, like
No, it's not Stephen A. Smith.
The beautificality and like all this stuff of like weird words that I don't even know exist and don't really flow. But
it wasn't even.
Nice.
It wasn't even big words. It was just small words conjoined together in a way I didn't know.
Even worse to me.
Even better.
Even worse. But J-Man says, hey, love this show coming to life. Thanks. And he also goes, I tell you what, it's a tough time to build a show with a losing football and basketball season. Wow.
If only we had a natty right around the corner coming in baseball.
If only.
If only.
I'm feeling good about that one. I really am. I'm feeling good. Okay, let me rephrase it. I'm not going to try to say it because it's like, I know people are going to start cutting it. But it's like, no, it's true, though. It's to win a national championship in any sport is dadgum impossible. Like, it really is. How many times have we seen, and especially in college baseball, probably more so than anything, the best teams never win it. Like, because I know it keeps reading, the 1 seed hasn't won since '99, but it's true. It's just so difficult. That being said, this baseball team has, as long as they stay healthy, all the tools to win a national championship. I think that's the fairest way of seeing it. The only thing that'll keep them from winning a championship is really just the game of baseball being baseball. About matchups. It's about, stretches. It's about playing your best at the right, like that's the type of stuff. But as far as on paper, talent-wise, the depth-wise, across the board-wise, everything, I think that this team is perfectly capable of winning it all.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I think every year there are teams that are capable of winning it all. But as you mentioned, the criteria for what it takes to win a national championship, how good you are matters, but it's not like the end-all, be-all. Like, it really is not as simple as, like, if you're good enough, you'll win it. Like, it's not like Arkansas has to reach a certain level. They just have to be good enough in the right moments. And so, the way I view it is you've got your ping pong balls in the lottery that they're doing, the NBA draft lottery. Some years you have more balls in there than others, but I think it ultimately is kind of a bit of a crapshoot. But I think Arkansas has done what they've done under Dave Van Horn is they've put themselves in position so many times. They've gotten close, and I know that people don't like to hear that, but it's like I just feel like they're in the mix so many years. There's a lottery every year, John. Somebody wins every year. Arkansas is among those top teams that have a chance every year. It's just got to be a matter of time when you think about big picture with this program and how much
LSU
success.
Last year too, man. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they were a really good team. Don't get me wrong, and they were, I think, picked to win it all before
they were the
started.
unanimous, like, going into the season there with their transfer class. They were the unanimous number one going in, and then didn't really play that way all year until the end.
Yeah, because I think that they ended up going in as was it a 5 seed?
Yeah, they were
still a top national seed, but like they were 5, and I think in the SEC they were the 3rd or 4th seed.
Yeah, like
Arkansas
they weren't
was
even
above them. Vanderbilt was above them.
Yeah, they didn't even have a chance to win it in the final weekend, I don't believe.
Yeah, so
the point is that couldn't even win the SEC championship.
What a bunch of jokers. Can even win the SEC? Wow, lame. Yeah,
2-2 against Arkansas also.
Well, the bane of their existence was those lefties of Hagen Smith and Hunter Holland. And Dave just
they won both of the games.
Yep. And then what was it? One game Hagen started and Hunter finished, and the other one Hunter started and Hagen finished. So that was
Hunter Holland was the man, dude. I wish he could have been a Hog for like 12 years.
He was so good.
He was awesome.
He was just like the quintessential, like just that type of pitcher, like 6'4", 6'5", lanky looking.
Well, mentality wise, like his mentality is very similar to like the Casey Murphy and like even the Will McIntyre. And like Arkansas has these like tough minded, just Southern pitchers,
Yep,
for lack of a better
old-fashioned-
term, like just good old dudes that aren't scared of anything. They're just
With
they might
long
not have
hair.
blow you away stuff, but they're always confident in their stuff. He was awesome.
Yeah, he had the confidence too. Jeremy says the studio's coming together. Got old JT on the wall. Adding JFK is solid. Love it, John. Yeah, I'm just kind of throwing the assortment of anything that I have to not make it look like what is actually taking place, where I'm hanging stuff up on whiteboards. Not that that's happening or anything, but just to make it look like it's not happening. So, yes, I'm glad that you can enjoy it and appreciate it. Trust the process, slowly but surely.
If
getting
Joel
to the
Embiid
point.
can score 70 after missing the first 2 years of his career, surely our studio, y'all can give us a little bit of leeway.
You would think. I mean, and in theory, that's what you're thinking. But, yeah, hopefully it
We've
gets to
mentioned
that
Joel
point.
Embiid a lot today. It's a big
Yeah,
Joel
why?
Embiid.
Because really
The reason why is because he dropped 70.
inspiration was for the start of the show is talking about the greatest Razorback single game performances we ever seen was because Embiid went for 70 last night. And again, I don't care who you are, what league you're playing in, or what era you're playing in. If you score 70, you score 70. I mean, Kobe Bryant scored 81, and like that was unheard of. And people were like, "Oh, well, this, that, and the other." Like, I don't care. 81 points is incredible. Because I think Michael Jordan only scored 69.
60, he was like 62 or 63. I think he did it in the playoffs.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe Joel Embiid do it in the playoffs, and then I'll be impressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said it earlier. I think Joel Embiid is now the big man version of James Harden a little bit, where he's like breaking all these
I can see
records.
it.
But I think if he ends his career, but I wanted to read one crazy stat. We don't have to really talk about the NBA here, but I wanted to read a crazy stat on this topic. Here is every 60-point game from a center in the NBA since Wilt's last, which was in 1969. You got a David Robinson in 1994, Shaq in 2000, Karl Anthony Towns last year, and then Karl Anthony Towns last night, Joel Embiid last night. So a third of all of the 60-point games by a center in the NBA since 1970 happened last night, and Karl Anthony Towns somehow has 2 of them. I didn't realize he went for 60 last year, apparently, but he did.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
His coach was mad, called it disrespectful to the game.
Karl Anthony Towns is the first person I've ever seen get benched down the stretch in a game where he had 62 points.
Because they still lost, and he wanted to foul at the end and all that. Like, yeah, it's weird seeing it that way. Like, because I guarantee you all those other cases of big men scoring 60, they probably weren't, got to take you out of the game.
Yeah. It wasn't
not
a question
playing well
down the
enough.
stretch of, is this guy in our 5 that we want on the floor right now? Like, you didn't have to think about that with Wilt.
No, not at all. Not at all. There are a few other things, though, that did you see this, which is a very sad thing. This is really sad. I hate to bring it up, but it's just worth mentioning at least. But RIP to Uga 10, who is the English Bulldog who patrolled the sideline for the most successful run in Georgia Bulldogs football history. He died. The university announced he was 10 years old. Known as K? Q-U-E? Q? K?
Yeah, hold on. That's Quay.
Quay?
That's Quay.
Not K? Not Quay? Quay?
Why did they go with that
I don't
name?
know. Like,
That
it's
is
like, what do you
bizarre.
want me to say? Like, I have no idea. The mascot officially became Uga, all right, at Uga 10 at age 2 in a collaring ceremony on November 24th, 2015. During his 8-season tenure as a mascot, Georgia went 91-18. Not bad.
Yeah,
that's
he had a good run. This one, Uga 10 here, Quay. He had a good run.
Yeah, he did. 2 national championships, 2 SEC titles, made the New Year's 6 Bowl 7 times. And as the Bulldogs athletic director said on Tuesday, or he says, quote, "He will always be remembered as a damn good dog." So,
You know what? I respect this, that he lived to be 10. I can live with that. John, I got to bring up something a little tragic. The Mike the Tigers at LSU, they're killing those guys left and right. They're on they've only been doing
like
it.
they're literally killing them?
I mean, they're on Mike 8, and they've only been doing it for 20 years. Like they've been having Mikes not that long, but
So what's happening to them?
Like
Is it almost like tigers just can't live in that type of...
I think they're definitely not meant to. It is cool having the tiger on campus at LSU. Like I have to admit, it's pretty awesome walking by and seeing it. But I just don't think tigers are meant to live in dirty Baton Rouge. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't seem like it fits the ecosystem. Isn't that what it is or something?
I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they got to really bring them to the swamp, and maybe on campus it's not swampy enough. I don't know. Maybe you got to
make
get
it
them
nasty in there.
But do you ever see those pictures that they post? I don't know if they still do it, but they would lay out a thing of meat for the tiger to eat, and it would be in the shape of whoever they're playing's logo. So every Saturday morning they'd be like, Mike the Tiger. maybe an unnecessary amount of meat since the Tigers are having issues and they're dying every 2 or 3 years. I mean, seriously, they've gone through 4 or 5 in the last decade.
Maybe we need to get some investigative things going on here. Was it PETA, right? Aren't they the ones that
PETA
do
needs
that?
to step in since
Yeah.
they step in on every other issue. You might as well step in on the live mascots. But I'm glad that this one, Quay, lived to be 10, and he had a good run where it was like you could at least look back and be like, oh, this. And like the Tusks have a long run.
Yeah, the Tusk is, I think we're on Tusk 5
Well,
now.
we just had Tusk died not too long ago, right?
And I think it's Tusk 5, and I mean, we've been having Tusk since I can remember.
Tusk,
So-
they get you get some miles out of those Tusks.
Yeah. So it's well, here's the thing. The reason I brought this up really is because yes, it's sad. Like I didn't want to see the mascots, but I love live mascots. I think live mascots are so cool. Maybe not the Tigers, as cool as that is.
Well, as long as you're treating them right.
You're treating them right and like feeding them like healthy foods, then maybe that's the case. But I just love the fact. Okay, let me take that back. All the live mascots, except for that stupid collie dog that Texas A&M has, like that's the stupidest thing. And it's not stupid because it's a collie. It's stupid because anytime that that stupid dog is put up on the TV, the place goes nuts as if Johnny Manziel just walked in. I'm like, okay, like listen, we see Tusk up there, like they see the whatever I don't even know what the name of it is. Is it
I don't know what it is either.
Aussie or I don't know something dumb. But it's like they just go freaking out over that, and there's like, yeah, it's like, okay,
it doesn't really make sense. I've always never understood like the mascots that aren't the mascot, like A&M having Smokey the dog, or Tennessee having Smokey the dog, or whatever.
It's not
like
volunteer, yeah.
Like I get it, you have to have something, but
or
that's
Alabama at the elephant.
Same thing, where it's like that doesn't really, it doesn't really make any sense. But I'm for it. I like the War Eagle too when they let it, except for that one time it ran right into the glass.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bound to happen once.
I just remembered something about this bulldog. Do you remember the Sugar Bowl when they played Texas, and the bulldog and Bevo almost crossed paths?
Yes, and they had to like separate them.
They like the guy like was not looking for 1 second. That must have been this dog, huh?
Who would have guessed that would have been a bad idea to put a cow or a steer or whatever it is
I don't know
with an English bulldog? Like, hey, this will be fine. Like, let's just see what happens. Let's hope for the best. Like, I don't understand why anybody would do that. So, but I thought you were going to bring up when the Georgia Bulldog mascot like tried to jump up and bite the Auburn player. I remember that.
Yeah,
like, it was like going
in
out
the
of
corner
bounds.
of the
and,
hedges.
Yeah, it started going up there too. But either way, I still think that again, live mascots are cool. Should be more of them because I don't think like the NFL, at least from my understanding, I don't think the NFL has any live mascots.
No, in the NFL and NBA, they do the thing where their mascots do not match the team at all. Like, I mean, except for Sir Purr with the Panthers. You ever heard of Sir Purr?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen that video of Robbie Anderson, former Jet, being like, y'all call him Sir Purr? I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. I don't ever understood that because I was like, I don't think the Chiefs have something.
The Broncos would
they
bring
got
out
the
the
Bronco.
Broncos would bring out a horse every now and then to run out on
And
the
the
field.
Colts. Colts have one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I think it does need to be. Everybody should have a mandatory mascot, no matter what.
Yeah.
Stanford, y'all got to plant a tree.
Well, they do have a tree mascot.
I know they have a tree mascot, but they have to plant a tree on the
Are you
field.
talking about live mascots? Okay.
Live mascots, Stanford, you
That's
got to
true.
plant a tree like somewhere. It doesn't have to be on the field itself, but
What would be
just
the-
out of bounds.
So what would be the way of the last type of what would be the worst live mascot that you
Oh,
can
man.
actually get?
Well,
Like
I'll
I'm
tell
not saying
you-
like real, like not a fictional character, but like a real, like something, an animal or whatever that
I'll
you could
tell
bring
you.
in right now.
Well, my buddy's dad played baseball at Delta State. They're the Fighting Okra. Is that the worst mascot you can have? Live mascot Fighting Okra.
So not just okra, but
They fight,
fighting.
and their
okra.
mascot looks. I mean, if you see it,
can
it's an okra that fights.
Can we stop this? Where listen, if your mascot is not intimidating enough to where you have to put fighting in front of it, then you probably don't need it as the mascot. It's like, hey, how about the Irish? Well, the Irish.
What about the
they can be
running
really
rebels?
nice and pleasant sometimes. Well, how about the fighting Irish? Ooh, yeah. Now it turns mean and intimidating.
Well, when you play the Ole
Illini.
Miss Rebels, and you're like, oh, these are just rebels. But when you play UNLV, those rebels are running.
That's true. Yeah, when you add an adjective or some sort of verb or something like that in front of it, that's when it starts getting a little off the rails too.
Oh, this dude brought up minor league. He brought up the Montgomery Biscuits, by the way. Minor league. You can talk about minor league mascots for hours. There are so many chaotic
But that's
ones
kind of
there.
their shtick, though. Like
No,
that's
yeah.
I'm fine embracing that fact.
Me
But
too.
it's the stuff that I can't get down with is the absurdity of some of the mascots that get thrown around, and then just you try to be at least somewhat normal.
I know the worst mascot you could bring. Miami.
That would be a pretty.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Iowa State can't bring those either.
Are those insensitive? Can we say that those mascots are a little insensitive these days? Because
get them to change
those
it.
things are killing people.
Start a petition.
Tornadoes and hurricanes kill people.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone's talking about Colonel Reb.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't see, Colonel Sanders or whatever he looked like, killing any people other than just filling them up with fried chicken. So it's like, just saying.
Where does it stop? If we're going to have the Hurricanes, we might as well have the AR-15s as the mascot. I mean, geez, John. At what point does it stop?
Don't give anyone ideas.
I mean, there's some high school in Texas or in Arkansas that's like, oh, yeah.
What is
Give
it?
us the AR-15s.
The AR-15s. Oh, it's like Oklahoma State has as Pistol Pete, and I feel like that's about as that's about borderline as crazy you get. Isn't it?
I love
Pistol
Oklahoma
Pete.
State's. Yes, I love their mascot. He looks like a bad dude.
I mean, he's a guy that I feel like
Do
has
not
won,
wanna mess with that
has
guy.
won a few draws in his day.
Like,
He's played Red Dead Redemption a couple times and thought that he could do it. So yeah, but I think we could really get to some problematic stuff here too. But let's not be problematic here on this Tuesday. In fact, let's get to some of your comments, folks. We got a few of them coming in here before we just got 15 minutes. This show's flown by. Great show. I wonder why. It must be because we're on it.
That simply cannot be it.
Chase says, Hogs pitching staff is number one this year. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not chasing because football, basketball underperform. I'm just saying it's legit.
No, I mean, I really think definitely the starting rotation. I think with the bullpen, there's some questions. They're not huge questions. It's not like I'm doubting the group, but I think it's a little bit less set in stone. Like Gage Wood's probably in that maybe closing role. Will McIntyre is going to pitch a ton for them. We're talking about Kevin Kopps. I'm not saying Will McIntyre is about to be Kevin Kopps. That's not what I'm saying.
Nope. I'm getting Andrew off the camera. Nope, he said that. Andrew Ellis says Kevin Kopps, Will McIntyre, same player.
Exact same one-for-one situation. But I do think Kevin Kopps, or not Kevin Kopps.
What?
I think Will McIntyre is a guy that you're going to see multiple times on a weekend. Like, I think he's going to come in, pitch 2 on Friday, maybe pitch, might not be your closer, but I think he's going to end up being the most valuable reliever. But outside of him, like, there's some really talented freshmen who are going to pitch, but the bullpen has some stuff to discuss there. That starting rotation, though, I said it the other day on the show, it's the most talented they've ever had. Just a pure stuff standpoint, it's definitely the best they've ever had. I mean,
I agree.
I think that, I keep saying it, the floor is so high for this team because of that. And so, those guys are going to be pitching the bulk of the innings. So I think, it's not going to match. They're not going to be able to match what they did in 2013 from an ERA standpoint because that was the dead bat era. And that was just kind of a weird year in college baseball where nobody was scoring. But I think when you look at the numbers of these last 4 or 5 years, I think this pitching staff could end up being statistically as good as any of them. And I'll be interested to see some of these, like the mix of the talented guys that and you can count on versus the young guys who throw 97, and can we really trust them? There's going to be no shortage of young guys for Arkansas fans to fall in love with as like their favorite freshman bullpen arm, like Gabe Geichel or Hunter Dietz, who may be out for the beginning of the season. Might want to mention that.
I mean, not to name drop, but I had lunch with a guy named Tyler Spoon today. I don't know if you
ever heard of him.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was in all the papers. But yes, but I was talking with him at lunch, and we were just talking about this team, and I was like, man, if you look about the pitching staff, and you brought up Will McIntyre, and this is not a negative thing against him, but it's like he might be like the 6th or 7th best pitcher on this team, and he's good.
Right.
Like it just shows the depth that they have.
And this is the best he's ever been. Also, like he's thrown. He touched 92 in a scrimmage in the fall, which again, 92 is not like blow you away, but for a scrimmage in the fall and for Will McIntyre, who doesn't really throw, I remember that being notable. And so it's like it's not like Will McIntyre is going to be a guy that just they can't use. He's going to be competent. They're going to use him a lot. And I think you're right. Like from a stuff standpoint, you can make a case for a ton of guys over him for sure.
This comes from Zach. Says, random question when y'all change subjects. Yeah, we're just flying by the seam of our pants. Hypothetically, would you trade a Razorback baseball and basketball in its current state for an elite football team, which means New Year's Six Bowls and occasion college football playoff?
I would trade the basketball team for its current state. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say,
I mean,
I think it depends. Like if I would only trade it if it meant a national championship in football.
Yeah, if it's just going to the Capital One Bowl,
no, I'm not trading that because I feel like the current state, even though it's not good right now for basketball, both basketball and baseball are much more set up at Arkansas to win a national championship than football. Yeah. Like it's just obvious. Not saying they will, but they did in '94 with football or basketball, but still, it's like you have. I'm rolling the dice with football not winning a title and basketball and baseball winning a title than I am. Well, you'll just have some really good seasons, get close to a title, maybe or maybe not.
Like
win
Washington.
It.
Like, would you rather be Washington in football and then irrelevant in basketball and baseball? If I were asking you,
no.
I agree. Like, unless I'm going to really like guarantee me that Arkansas wins the 2026 national title, I will do whatever.
I don't think I'd take that.
But also, I'm the wrong person to ask because like I would rather the baseball team be good. Like that's just personally. We try to be unbiased and objective here. Like we're professionals, we really are, and journalists even someone could call us. But baseball's like the one thing. Like that's where I get to cook. That's where I get to still be, not a fan, but that's where still it's like.
Well, you're just a baseball fan.
A baseball fan.
Yeah, it's like
I just respect good ball. That's what I do. And Arkansas plays good ball. I just respect good baseball.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Just for the love of the game. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think that they made a movie after that. I think for the love of the game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I mean, a great movie.
You know what's sad is I don't think I've actually seen it.
I watched it because I was listening to Kevin Costner talk about it with Bill Simmons, and he said that they had him throw like 270 pitches on set one day. And then like the next day they came to shoot and they're like, hey, we need you to pitch again. And he's like, dude, no. I'm going to need at least like they had to like delay filming because he was, can't have your starter going out there back-to-back days throwing 300. But while they're filming the movie and he's pitching, he's throwing, they're saying cut. And they said there was one day where he threw like almost 300 pitches. And so it kind of ruined the way they were shooting the movie.
Jeez. I was trying to think, like if you did actors that have played in sports movies, like Kevin Costner has to be
Mount
the number
Rushmore,
one.
Easily.
Well, just like the amount of ones that he's played in.
I mean, Bull Durham
is great movie.
Classic. For the Love of the Game.
Field of Dreams.
Classic
One there, too.
One of the ones that I don't know if this is a classic, but it's like my favorite bad movie of all time, Draft Day. He's in Draft Day. Did you see that?
I saw it, but I guess, and trust me, it's not great, but I guess I never looked at it as just like a trash movie.
No, and it's not trash, but it's just like, there's like moments in the movie that are like so like over the top. Like when he's calling the guy and he's like, I want my picks back, you pancake eating mother effer. Like there's like moments that are like so played up where it's almost funny. And it's just like, I'm not a huge NFL draft guy, but I think there's a play. If you want to fact check of like, this is something that does not happen in real life during the NFL draft. There's like 8 of those in that movie. But
well, and it's, I love the movie, and it's just going not with Kevin Costner, but I love, just like everybody does, of, no, I just lost it. Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill. Holy crap!
Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill is
baseball. How did I
Moneyball? Yeah.
Jeez, I kept wanting to say Beamer Ball, and I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Beamer Ball's cool though.
Moneyball, but it's like I watching those, and at least I saw some article that like the way that Brad Pitt was like negotiating.
Yeah,
I was like, that's more realistic of like the
well,
high
Billy Bean.
Stuff.
By the way, the real Billy Bean should thank Hollywood every day that they chose Brad Pitt to play him. He's not Brad Pitt.
Like, how could I? Like, it's like, okay, so we're gonna do who would you like to play? Well, I don't know. Who you think? Well, we think Brad Pitt. Oh, okay. I mean, if they were making a movie after me, Brad Pitt's a good guy.
As long as y'all get Ryan Gosling to play me in the Natty State Sports movie, then we're set. But Billy Bean does not look like Brad Pitt. I'll just tell you right now.
No, I need Baker Mayfield to get into acting, and that's who I'd want to play me.
Yeah, Baker could play you. Yeah,
I don't think he will.
Yeah,
but
we'll,
if he
we'll
did,
contact him.
But
we'll
if he
see
did,
if he's open.
I'd like to see. Maybe that could be his acting debut. Could go really well for him. But yeah, there was another Kevin Costner movie. I think we missed.
I know.
There's another sports one. Tin Cup. Isn't that it?
I don't know.
It's a golf movie. I think Tin Cup. I think Kevin Costner was in it. So
was he in Caddyshack?
He was not.
He was no. But Caddyshack's awesome.
It is a great movie. It is a great movie.
By the way, Chase Moore also wanted to know if Peyton Holt can start. He can start, and I would say will start.
He's gonna be third base, probably, right?
It's just a matter of where. Like I think third base is the most likely solution. Could play first, could play left if they really needed him to. Could like DH second if Stovall was still hurt. But I even asked Dave Van Horn this exact question of like, who's a guy last year that wasn't an everyday starter that may have established himself, kind of lobbed him up to say Peyton Holt, and the first name out of his mouth. He's like, Peyton Holt, that dude's a starter. He's a team leader. Like, I think he had a great year towards the end of the year last year. I think he's also kind of solidified himself this offseason as like a dude for the team.
Was he the guy that of course, one of my favorite plays last year was when Dave had the headset on and he was talking to the guys.
Yes.
Was he the one that made the play? And he goes, "That's my backup."
Yep.
And he's like, "You kidding me?" Like, because I think it was again talking with Tyler Spoon today. We're talking about how like Peyton, if you have a healthy team last year, no telling what happens. But it's like you probably don't even see Peyton Holt.
Yeah.
Like if you had a healthy team, you don't even know. It's like, this guy may be good. I don't know. But like seeing him, and that's what's a great thing about what last year's team did provide is the guys that are on the team this year. getting them a lot of that experience and a lot of that run where they normally wouldn't have had it, but getting them as ready as they can be for this season too. That's big.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so funny to look back. There was a stretch earlier in the year last year where Peyton Holt and Caleb Cali were kind of competing for third, and neither was pulling away, and Ben McLaughlin was in there, and he gets hurt, and it's like it seemed like Arkansas had a hole there, and now by the end of the year, Caleb Cali was as impactful as any hitter they had. Peyton Holt hit like 370 down the stretch. Like, it ended up kind of being funny how it worked out, but I remember early in the season, people were really dogging on me for being all in on Caleb Cali. He was killing all offseason.
I was all in on just because that's what the baseball players told me.
Right.
And then when he started off like 2 of 30, I'm like, what are y'all doing to me right now? Like,
People
I'm already
pulled
looking
up. People were
stupid every
pulling up
day.
my quote tweeting me the day of when they played in Arlington, and he was like 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts, and they were just like, yeah, see, don't listen to this guy. And so I had to go back once he got above 300, once he worked his way back up and had good stats, and let him know.
Yeah, let him know. And then I'm sure they didn't say anything after that.
No.
But also Zach says, will y'all be going to the baseball games at Globe Life?
Yes, we will.
In February. Yes, me and Andrew both are going to be there with that Sweet Life.
Yeah.
Going with the sweet
life of
So if you want to find us, we'll be up there next to the Rangers GM looking down upon everybody else, being like, I wonder what the poor people are doing today. Actually, well, we won't do that, at least not sober. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome experience. And playing Oregon State in that first one, it cracks me up because I know Razorback fans who are going to be down there. Like, it's going to be a ton of Razorback fans there. But they're going to have a lot of anger and a lot of angst. And those Oregon State players are going to be like, what did we do?
None of them were a part of it at all.
None of them even know, like, why do you hate us? Like, we're not going to see. You guys are so, like, far, like, but it doesn't matter.
People keep booing the Astros. The Astros, there's like 2 people left from the 2017 Astros team. It's like Bregman and Altuve is it. And there people still boo the Astros. They'll boo like Michael Brantley. I'm like, dude, Michael Brantley had nothing to do with that.
Well, see, that's why I always laugh about, what was it? Was it Joe Kelly when he was with the Dodgers?
Yeah.
And that like fight, was it with the Astros, I guess? Or was it with the Red Sox?
The fight happened when he was with the Red Sox, but then he got in a fight with the Astros when he was a Dodger.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
And that's
well,
what
he
I was
got in a
laughing
big
about.
fight when he was a Red Sox, when he was like punching that dude for the Yankees.
Right, that's what I laughed about, because I'm like, everyone was like Joe Kelly going after the Astros, and then he like made that like sad face as he was walking off. And then I was like, oh man, they had Dodgers and everything. It's like, we weren't even on the Dodgers last year. It's like a completely different reason.
And he was on the Red Sox, who also cheated, so it's like, all these.
Aren't you an Astros fan?
I am an Astros fan, yeah.
Like always, not just because they started being good.
No, yeah. I used to go to the Astros games when they were losing. Those were actually the best. Some of my favorite memories going to Astros games were when they were losing 100 games and we'd pay like $20 and get all-you-can-eat concession stands, because there was nobody at those games back in the day.
Dude, I feel like that's kind of how the Rangers were just a few years ago, just trash. And
by the way,
same with the Royals.
I will say this about Globe Life. It's not a bad. I mean, it's not. It's a new park. It's
really
nice.
Yeah.
Not like blow you away, where it's like, it doesn't really have a ton of personality.
It's not like Jerry World.
No, it's definitely not like Jerry World.
It's just that you walk in, it's a nice ballpark.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's clearly new and like modern, but I just think of like personality. Like some of my favorite MLB parks, like Minute Maid has like the train tracks up there, and it has the weird center field. Like there's just a personality that each park has. I feel like Texas's new ballpark is a little like corporate almost.
Well, this is correct me, because I don't even think they needed to build it.
Yeah, I was saying, and I love their old park so much. Yeah,
it's like, well, this one's getting old. Isn't it like 10 years? Old.
But hey,
you don't need an old place like this anymore.
Another name drop of DVH. We were just talking. I was talking to him the other day about how.
Yeah, we talk to people, folks.
We talk to people, but no big deal. We do this a lot. But we were talking about how they went to Round Rock a couple years ago, and as soon as they got back from Round Rock, Arkansas got booked to play in Arlington for like the next 3 Februarys, because he was like, we're never going to an outdoor venue again in February. That was horrible.
I remember how mad he was, and I didn't go to it, but I had a friend of mine that went to the Round Rock, and he said there was nothing redeeming about it. There was, it's just, because that's the thing, is like, baseball doesn't play in the elements like football or whatever, but that's not how it's meant to be played. That's like golf. Like it was like, getting out in the element. No one wants to play golf and watch people play golf in like 40-degree weather and rain. Like that's not fun.
Right.
Baseball, for all intents and purposes, is set up to play in nice weather.
In fact, you'd almost rather it be too hot.
I would. Man, after this past week here in Fayetteville, give me too hot of weather over too cold. I'm sick of this crap. Actually, it was nice today. Again, the heat wave came in at 50 degrees, but no, we're going to be down there. It's going to be awesome. That trip in Arlington is a lot of fun. And what I also love about it too, it's Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Michigan, and Oregon State, right? It's only 4 teams there. believe so.
Maybe. I
Yeah,
can't
I'm pretty
remember.
sure
There's no other SEC teams there?
No, there was last year. They did 3 SEC,
that's
3
right.
Big 12.
Well, and they're doing 2 events in Arlington this year.
Yeah, because one of them was the year. Yeah, so this is a new one. But what I love about it is that Oregon State ain't going to travel. Michigan ain't going to travel. Oklahoma State will travel.
Yeah.
But Arkansas fans?
Still not to the scale that Arkansas will.
Especially with this basketball season looking trash. Just saying, man, people are going to be all in on baseball.
Yeah.
All in.
I mean, Arkansas plays a home basketball game that weekend against Missouri, but it's not the type of, like, if they played Kentucky that weekend, that would really stop people from going to Arlington. If you're, by the way, if you have tickets, if you're like anyone listening right now that's trying to make the decision, go to Arlington instead of that Missouri home game. Seriously, it's going to be way cooler.
Yeah.
And indoors, which I guess basketball is too, but it'll be fun.
Final one before we get out of here, folks. Chase says, neighbor's favorite bar in the Ville. The one that's free. That's actually not true at all. I don't get any. I'm not a hot chick. I don't get free drinks. But I mean, there's a few places that I always like dabble around, and check out. It depends on what the mood calls for. If you're looking at just hanging out with the guys, go to some sports bar. If it, going to have on a date night, go to certain places. Or if you want to meet some young professionals like ourselves and network. And
that's what we do at the pub. We network.
Yes, we're big network people. But
Branson has the correct answer with Flyway.
He does. Flyway.
Flyway's the best.
Yeah. If you haven't been there, go out there, folks. Right out there next to the mall off of Joyce.
Zion?
No, Zion.
Yeah, Zion.
That's right. Joyce is the one for you. Yeah, Zion. Awesome place, so go check it out. But, yeah. Well, I think we did all right.
Yeah, I mean, about as well as we could do given the circumstances of our boys abandoning us.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. So, all right, real quick, what'd you learn today? Anything?
What did I learn today?
It don't even have to be on my show. Like, I don't give a rip if you learn anything on my show. I'm just saying in general.
Here's what I learned today. Arkansas's spread against Ole Miss is only 4 tomorrow. It's like 4.5. We were trying to predict it on the gambling show. I thought
Excuse me?
I thought Arkansas would be like 8 or 9 point underdogs tomorrow night. Ole Miss is only favored by 4.5 at home against Arkansas.
Give me the Rebs.
That's a retirement fund type of bet right there. No disrespect to Muss and the boys. But like we said, until proven otherwise, this team is not a good one.
Give me the Rebs. Because that way it's like, hey, if Arkansas, of course, odds are Arkansas ends up losing by 1. But it's like, that will happen. Like, it's like, I always look at it and say, hey, either I win money or the Hogs win. Either way, I win something. But that's what's going to happen. I'm going to bet the Rebs, and I can't win money there because Arkansas they still lose, but it's by 1 point. I hate betting, but I still do it.
Tremont Mark will hit a 3 that means nothing to get them inside of that number. That's what will happen. They'll be losing by like 7, and they'll have no chance of winning, and then he'll like bank in a half court.
I wonder if the 6th floor jumping out the window would kill me. Probably.
Depending on where you landed, I don't know.
Yeah, depending if I went head first.
We'll scout it out tomorrow. Trust me.
Yeah, we'll probably make that
We'll have
work.
that answer tomorrow on the show, so y'all tune in.
Yeah. Get back with you as soon as possible. Well, appreciate everybody listening in and watching into the John Neighbors Show here on Natty State Sports. For Andrew Ellis, I am John Neighbors. Be sure to watch tomorrow for the live stream during the Razorback basketball game. It's a road game. Hang out with me and the fellas as we're just basically going to be sitting there and commentating about the game itself and having some fun doing that, but we'll have fun with it, just like we do everything. Also, check out Pod at the Palace. We're on Apple and Spotify and wherever podcasts are found. We're going to be there. So you can check out all of our audio podcasts that way as well. But either way, appreciate everybody listening in. Enjoy the rest of your night. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Same sports show, same sports channel. We'll see you then, folks. Have a good one.